right.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matriek mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No, man, just sell your bucky to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
Mzansi, have you bought your Lotto, Lotto Plus 1 and Lotto Plus 2 tickets for the mind-blowing 109 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Wednesday? Don't delay. Play Lotto for an estimated 78 million rand, Lotto Plus 1 for 18 million rand, and Lotto Plus 2 for 13 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. eTuber is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
It's that time of year. The annual Drakensberg Boys Choir Music in the City is upon us. Classic choral works, African rhythms, and foot-stumping Afropop at the Joburg Theatre. 18 to 21 June. Book now on bbchoir.com. See you there.
SAFM will be broadcasting live from the Sanlam Benchmarking Survey event at the Sandton Convention Centre this Thursday, 19 June from 9 a.m. We'll be diving into all things retirement with Sanlam Corporate, unpacking their latest research on how South Africans are preparing or not for life after work. We'll chat to some thought leaders in the retirement space for their take on our collective readiness to retire confidently. Unfortunately, most South Africans may only retire with confidence at age 80. So how do we shift this reality? What can employers, policymakers, and individuals do to change the outlook? Join us for real insights into the future of retirement and employee benefits in South Africa. That's Thursday, 19 June from 9 a.m. only on SAFM. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So how often have you gone, to the airport, for example, and really going out in support of the national cricket team because they just missed out? I'm thinking about 1999, 1992. There were a couple of others last year in the West Indies when we lost to India in the final. It's like, I'm going to go to the airport. They lost the World Cup, but goodness, they were so impressive. And I'm going to show them how much I care and how much they mean to me. So that's then, right? Well, I can tell you now, I did not go to the airport today. I had a very busy morning. But I can say that for the very first time ever, like ever, I can say today, but it's never happened before, to the South African cricket team that you were welcomed today at O.R. Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg, unprecedented, as the World Test Cricket Champions. So there I've said it. It's a special day because they're back in our country with that World Cup mace in hand, which is a symbol of their status in world cricket. What a magic moment, isn't it? And I'll tell you what, that's why we're not going to apologize for the fact that today on the National Pulse, besides many other things, when we talk about what moves the National Pulse, cricket moves the National Pulse, no question about that, right? So my name is Ashraf Garda. Welcome to the show. As always, wonderful to connect with you. And yes, we will feature on that arrival and the airport and the press conference and a whole lot more, right? You can connect with us. That's not all, of course, right? There's big question marks about Floyd Shivambu. He's having a presser tomorrow of sorts, and it's not from the MK party. I'm sure you will have something or the other to say about that. And we'll talk about Once again, Iran versus Israel, because it's such a big issue. To call in 086 000 2032, then WhatsApp, you have the option to voice note or text 0614 104 107. And as always, if you are tweeting, use the hashtag The National Pulse, and then you can tag SFM Radio and do tag me, Ashraf Garda. And you know that we're live streaming, so you can watch us on YouTube. You can also watch us on live streaming on the Twitter or the X platform, and the same on Facebook as well. Okay, I'm just going to get the go-ahead to connect. We do have the first guest, and certainly in that theme of cricket first today. Let's talk cricket. We have with us Linda Zondi. Now, Linda is a former Cricket South Africa convener of selectors, so much appreciate you connecting with us on the National Pulse, Linda.
Yes, I am, definitely. Thank you very much for the invite.
Well, I tell you what, it's a historic day, and that is why we need to revel on that. Of course, Saturday or Sunday was already historic. Saturday, I think it was. But I mean, this time around, even more so, because the team is back in South Africa, right? But let's start with this firstly. For you as a person in cricket, who's not just a fan, but has been the convener of selectors at a time, when they come back home and they got this mace in hand that signifies that they're the best in class, what does it mean to someone like yourself?
It hasn't sunk in yet, I'll be honest with you. As you rightly identified, for a couple of years, we have always come back and we'll have a negative press in terms of trying to justify what went wrong and why the team didn't cross the line. So for someone who's been there, who's involved, I still cannot believe the magnitude of this victory and what it will do for our country going forward. You know, the elimination of this shock, like this tag that has been there for years, the chokers and all these things. You know, the class of 2025, they've really, really outdone themselves, and they've really done, and they've done well for the country.
Interesting you say it hasn't sunk in. I see Shukri Conrad there, the coach, said effectively the same thing. And I'm listening to him and I'm listening to you, and I'm like, no, if I was playing and we had won, it will sink in 1 second after we win that World Test Championship, because I would understand what that really means, right? But fine, I allow the fact that you guys can internalize it differently. Let's get to the issue about the significance, because you did say, you know, to paraphrase you, that the magnanimity of it all and the significance of it all and just what it means in terms of the overall impact to the national cricket team. How do you see it?
I see it in a way, the belief of the winning mentality, the belief going to the 2027 World Cup, the belief of winning a Test series, because at the end of the day, Test series is still the number one format in the world. The kind of quality players that we currently have in this crop of players that we have going forward from winning this Test World Cup, the manner that the young guys that were coming through the system will understand that at the end of the day, we have so many that have come before them, but now we have already crossed the line. So for me, is when you look at it, is that most of these players, they will then going forward for representing our country in a special way, because they will then believe that they are champions. They will believe that they've conquered or they've won the international trophy for the country. So it is massive. That's what's going to happen going forward.
Now, you know, often when things go wrong, we look at two, and this is in all sport. You look at the coach and you look at the captain. It's like, we have a lousy captain, we have a lousy coach, we need to change them. That's a normal thing in just about most sports, right? When things go right, conversely, there's a lot of attention again on coach and captain. I'm looking at Rassie Erasmus and Siya Kolisi getting the plaudits for the same type of reasons. How significant has this relationship been between Shukri Conrad, the coach of the team, and Temba Bavuma, the captain of the team, and their connection?
Credit needs to be given to the coaching team, to Shukri, who came, who's also just been appointed as a white ball cricketing coach for all formats. Credit must also go to the director of cricket, Enoch Nkwe, who have come in and shared his vision. Credit must also go to the board, because at the end of the day, if there's a quiet board, the work will be done on the field. So the relationship that the coach Shukri and Temba have really shown that if you know your role and you are clear with what you need to do within the playing field, you will definitely back the coach. The coach will back the player, and you will definitely perform. And then all the players around you, they will follow you. I mean, the cricket gods were on our side when you look at it. You look at the conditions, you look at the partnership, the fourth partnership. We look at how Kagiso Rabada, I mean, KG got 9 wickets. I mean, our bowling attack really were at the forefront of this victory. You look at how for Makram to come back from scoring a duck in the first inning and performing in that manner in the second inning, it's something that is extra special. Bavuma, from being dropped when he was on 2, and then pulling his hamstring when he's on 6, and then ending up with that sort of performance, you sit back and you look at, yes, this is amazing. You look at the spectators chanting Temba, chanting the Proteas. We're in England. It sounded as if we're in South Africa. The amount of the support was there. So holistically, for me, it was just the gods of cricket were definitely on our protest.
In fact, talking about spectators, we'll chat to Kaya Sitoli later on. I think he was a spectator among spectators, fan amongst fans. There's no question about that, right? Just the last thing for now, right? I mean, there are many examples, not just with our cricket team, but in other sports as well, where sometimes you can be the best team and you just lose out. The margins are so fine. We go back to 1999 in particular. So there are many examples where we like by far the best team and we still lose, right? So yes, some luck must go your way inevitably, right? But can you pinpoint maybe one single factor? Do you see a mentality shift that's emerged? Because they didn't just win at Lord's over the weekend. They effectively won by getting into the final in the first place, isn't it?
It's for me. It's when you look at it, Kagiso Rabada, Makram, and there were 3 boys who were in 2014 won the World Cup. So the feeling of tasting the victory and the winning mentality was there. Most of our players have gone to the IPL. They played in the big stages. The feeling of understanding to perform in big stages, they have that. So all that culminates with the winning mentality that we wanted to cross the line for this match. When you look at the Australian side, it full of the experience that they had, because we were underdogs. So I think for the boys, it was a matter of saying, majority of our players, they understand the volume and the magnitude of this victory and the performance, and I think they just went all out. Look at KG. The controversy that he came to this test match that he had to face. I mean, when you look at even Lungi Ngidi, the first innings, he didn't bowl well, but he came back. You can see our players, the mental toughness is there, the belief of their skill and the belief of the country. I think for me, that's what we're going to take. We're going to take it positively as we're moving on.
Yeah, well, therefore we need to dig into their champion playbook. No question about that. Linda Zondi, let's leave it at that. Time to continue to celebrate, understandably so. Former Cricket South Africa convener of selectors, thank you for your time here on the National Pulse. We'll talk more about cricket later on and get your calls, but we will talk next up about another big issue, maybe a lot more serious than just cricket. It's called a war. It's Iran and it's Israel after this.
Specsavers Audiology, South Africa's largest audiology group, brings you the all-new Clarity Pro rechargeable hearing aids. Experience cutting-edge features at a price you can afford. For a limited time only, buy 1 Clarity Pro rechargeable hearing aid and get 50% off the second. You heard right. Buy 1 and get 50% off the second. Visit specsavers.co.za to find your nearest store and ask for Clarity Pro today. Specsavers Audiology. Test your hearing and join the conversation. T's and C's apply.
What if you open up more? Open up to learning and experiencing more of Mzansi and abroad? What if you open up culture and explore the extraordinary, from music to drama and the latest fashion? What if you open up your wild side, discover a world of skyscraping cities and brown sugar beaches? What if you open up your kitchen and immerse yourself in cuisines from all corners of the world? What if you open up your voice with all eyes on you without being seen? What if you open up your morning to lekker conversations and world-class entertainment? What if you open up more?
This Youth Month, SAFM celebrates the spirit, power and potential of young South Africans. Join us as we dive into conversations that matter, from innovation to education and skills for the changing world. Empowering youth for meaningful economic participation. Because at SAFM, we're not just talking, we're leading the conversations that move us.
Right now, you can apply online for Absa Ultimate Banking with 34 benefits while listening to this show. This is what ultimate success looks like. It's getting your daughter the ballet shoes you promised thanks to a 2,000 Rand bank or balance booster, while ultimate goals is living life on your own terms with a 0 monthly fee credit card. Well, Absa Ultimate Banking is about having it all in one account for 98 Rands per month. Your story matters. Absa. Subject to affordability and scoring. Benefits may be subject to limitations. Terms and conditions apply. Absa is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Well, I'll tell you what, for the better part of the last few months, we've been talking about Israel and Palestine. And in the last week or so, there's been a shift. It's Israel-Iran. Some talk about it as a war. There's a conflict of sorts. Others talk about it as a yes, there's certainly missiles being sent, but it's a lot more threats of what may happen. And others even talk about a potential precursor to a world war, World War III. Let's find out where we're at with the issue and really what are the causes and where do we go next. With me is Naeem Jinnah, who's a senior researcher at the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection. Naeem, appreciate your time as always on the National Pulse.
Thank you, Ashraf.
Thank you. I was tempted to say, where did it all start? But perhaps let me start at the end. You know, where is this all going to end?
Oh, wow. Right now, I don't think anyone knows. A lot really at the moment depends on what the United States is going to do. Trump's latest tweets on this very concerning, threatening the life of the Iran supreme leader, referring to Israeli planes over Iran as we having control over of the skies over Iran, which is not true, but that's another point. And making it sound as if the United States and Israel are in this together and that Israel is going to suffer the wrath of the U.S. Trump doesn't always do what he says he's going to do, but if he follows through on that, then where we are going could be a regional and even global conflagration. If the U.S. doesn't get involved, the other option is that the U.S. could convince Israel to step down, and if it does, Iran has said that as soon as Israel stops, it will stop. And would be then willing to get back to negotiations as well about its nuclear program. But at the moment, everything's uncertain.
Some may say the U.S. is involved anyway already. That means whatever Israel does it is on the basis of knowing that they have the support of the American strength. So even if it's not physical involvement, they have it. And I think Trump has already made the point about the type of arms that they've supplied to Israel and others, right? So would you not say that they're involved anyway?
Yes, no, that's absolutely true. I mean, before the attack started on Iran on Friday morning, the U.S. already indicated through its actions that it knew something was going to happen, withdrawing personnel from embassies in the region, etc. And then both Marco Rubio and Trump did say after Friday that they knew about it. They had been informed about it. So at least from that, and Trump could have at that stage said to the Israelis, don't do it or you'll be in trouble. But he didn't, which is tacit approval. And much of the weaponry that's being used is from the U.S. So yes, the United States definitely is involved, but I'm not sure what the right word would be. Let's say not operationally involved right now.
Okay. Now, sometimes people battle with understanding context to this, and they think like, maybe this, whatever started on Friday just happened on a Friday morning. But the reality is you could get tensions simmering sometimes for weeks, days, months, even years. What's the context to all of this?
Well, the context, perhaps let's just slight history. Up to January 1979, Iran under the last Shah was a very close ally of both Israel and the United States. Famously, Jimmy Carter in October 1978, visiting Tehran, referred to it as an island of stability in a region of instability. And 4 months later, there was a revolution. Post February 1979, the relations between Iran and Israel were very bad. Just as Iran withdrew its diplomatic mission from South Africa, so it did with Israel as well. In summary, there's been the sense between the two states that they are, in a sense, existential enemies. From the Iranian perspective, the additional issue, of course, is that they're very strong on the Palestinian question, have been supporting the Palestinians, have been supporting various Palestinian political and armed groups, not just Hamas and Islamic Jihad, but other leftist groups as well and others. It's had, because of its view that it's under threat from Israel, has supported Hezbollah in Lebanon as a kind of counterforce. So that has been simmering for decades, literally. The relationship between Iran and the U.S. also has been very bad for decades. The U.S. imposed sanctions on Iran in 1979, so Iran has been living under sanctions for 45 years. In the recent past, Israel has felt that it has a unique opportunity at this point in time. It has not won the war, of course, in Gaza. It has not destroyed the resistance there. It has not destroyed Hezbollah, but it's opened up several fronts: Gaza, Lebanon, the West Bank, in Syria, and now with Iran. It feels that it has this opportunity, which it might not otherwise have, where its traditional allies are fully behind it, not only the United States, but you look at some of the disgusting tweets after Friday from the Germans and the French, for example. And so it's taking advantage of that.
Okay.
The other part of the context, of course, is that the scare tactic that Israel has used, that Iran is developing a nuclear weapon, which it has not been and doesn't have, Israel does have. And these talks that were taking place between the U.S. and Iran, Israel wasn't happy about. Bombing Iran now completely undermines that negotiations process and ensures that it doesn't happen.
Okay, so that's an interesting point because, again, many people are saying, yes, that Israel's attack on Iran was an attack of self-defense because of what may happen around their nuclear capability, although some may say, but actually it's the Israelis who've got nuclear capability and not the Iranians. Fine, I hear that. Having said all of that, Donald Trump's comments, and he obviously, as you know, he comments every day, but one of the latest ones was he's called on the Iranians, not the Israelis, for an unconditional surrender. So you've got about a minute to answer that. What does that mean by unconditional surrender from the Iranian side, but not the Israeli side?
He's clearly putting himself in the Israeli camp. And basically for him, unconditional surrender means virtually regime change, giving up completely its civilian nuclear program, and all of the other things that Israel has asked for, which is destruction of all Iran's missiles, basically all its defense capability. It's a ridiculous request, and it's not going to happen.
And of course, what's going to happen next? As you said, you don't know, I don't know. perhaps we should ask Donald Trump. Much appreciate your time, Naeem Gina, as always, connecting with us here on the National Pulse. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, the Public Protector's Office has urged Gauteng Scopa to hold the provincial executive accountable for failing to implement unresolved remedial actions. The City of Cape Town and 2 government departments have jointly applied for an eviction order in the Western Cape High Court against foreign nationals living in tents in Kensington and Bellville. And the family of Zambia's former President Edgar Lungu has halted the return of his body, accusing the government of breaching key agreements over his funeral. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 northbound in Midrand is slow moving towards New Road, and the R24 westbound in Kempton Park has a crash before Barbara Road exit. In KZN, the N2 southbound queuing towards Spaghetti Junction, the N3 westbound, a crash at Camperdown, and the N2 southbound, a stationary vehicle after the M41 gateway exit. In Cape Town, on the N1, a stationary truck reported in Huguenot Tunnel in Paarl, so stop-go controls are in place and you are still and the N1 outbound also slow-moving towards Okavango Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
I'll tell you what, I want to ask the cameraman to focus very straight on Tumi's T-shirt because that's central to, and it says champions.
It says champions.
And I'm just wondering, why don't I have one?
You know,
which sums up where you were today.
Yeah, I should have brought you one. I was out at the OR Tambo International and also at the Cricket South Africa headquarters because the Proteas have officially returned to South Africa, landing there at the international airport this morning. Man, it was packed with fans, some school students, cricket lovers, and also super fans like Machaga, who says that this is a moment to be remembered forever.
Ecstatic.
All right, we're still trying to find that clip. It is basically one of our super fans. I think we found it. Let's go.
You know what? Great feelings, great achievement here at the airport. We're here with the Springbok and also with the under-20, with Raymond Mdaga and his soldiers. But today, World Test Championship, has it sunk in yet for South African to say, this is what we've been waiting for. The word chokers doesn't exist anymore. We are cruising nicely. We are celebrating and we'll never stop celebrating. The sport brings people together. You can even see, even if you are from the rural areas, anywhere in South Africa, you can make it. I mean, what a great achievement also for Temba, the captain of woman. It's such an inspiration for the up-and-coming youngster to say, get involved in sport. Sport will take you to the greatest heights. So I'm very, very happy, very elated to come and witness that trophy. And beating the Aussies was not child's play, the Lord. So we are very grateful for our boys. They did very well.
So as you can hear, everyone from the walks of lives were there. Even Amajita coach was there to welcome the champions back. And as soon as they walked in, everyone started chanting, "Oh, Temba Pavuma." And Proteas coach Shukri Conrad says that winning the World Test Championship hasn't sunk in yet, but he also appreciated the fans that were at the airport.
Absolutely ecstatic. We didn't kind of expect this, but to see the people come out in their hundreds here, it's made this even more special. We wanted to a few days ago, but it hasn't quite sunk in, and I think you get a reception like this, and things start sinking in. So, yeah, the guys have been great, but the fans have been even better.
I was also able to grab Vian Mulder, who says that they didn't expect that large crowd at the airport.
To be honest with you, this is not anything we expected. I think coming back from Lords, where we had such an amazing crowd, we've had like 2 or 3 days for things to settle, so coming back here and feeling like it's pretty ecstatic, and I think the guys will be over the moon with the turnout.
Well, also the Minister of Sports, Gayton McKenzie, was there, and he put a stamp on everything, saying that the South Africans are a bunch of winners.
Don't you think we are the best sporting nation in the world? We are. We have the strongest women in the world. We have the strongest men in the world. We have the fastest runners in the world. We have the best soccer players now in the world. I mean, you saw Sundowns yesterday.
Yes, sir.
We have the best rugby players. We have the best rugby team. We have the best cricket team. Listen, we have the best surfing team. I can go on and on and on and on and on. South Africa is the best sporting nation in the world, and you better believe that.
You better believe it.
What does this say about the Minister of Sport? You didn't say we have the best Minister of Sport, eh? Okay.
And you know, funny enough, at the press conference, someone asked him that, I mean, now since you're becoming the minister, it seems like we're starting to win. Is it you, the person that is helping us to win? And then he was like, nope, I'm not the one that is on the field. But from one winner to the next. Also, Springbok captain Siya Kolisi has hailed the Proteas for their triumph in the World Test Championship final.
I think it's huge. I know it's big. I know it's huge for the country. I mean, you saw the reactions of people in South Africa, the reactions of all of us as South Africans. I think one thing about South Africans, whenever South Africans is fighting or representing South Africa, people get behind them. And we know it's been a tough journey for the Proteas, not only in the one-day games, but also for its test match. And to do something like this was huge. And the manner that they did it in, with all the noise that was going on around them, that they've only played a few tests and all the other countries deserve to be there. They just played, and it looked like they weren't going to do it in the first couple of days. And the great thing about it was a team effort. There's not even one particular person that stood in. I mean, Lungi struggled the first innings, and then he came back, the second one. Kagiso was amazing, and Aiden obviously got 0 on the first inning, and he fought his way through. And I think that showed a lot of who we are as South Africans. And I'm proud of Temba too. I'm really proud of Temba. He's went through a tough period where he got a lot of criticism because he couldn't get runs. And South African people are proud that and they're very passionate about the country. And he took it well. He could have given up, but he carried on fighting. It showed when his hamstring was sore. I mean, his career kind of went the same way. He fought through it and did the best he could, and now he's there. So we are proud of them, and we support them. And we did with the coach. They came to do some to visit us as a team, and that was great. So it's always good to see South Africans win, and hopefully this is only the first one and many more.
And I think for me, I love the fact that players from different sporting codes or captains from different sporting codes and coaches are somehow supporting each other. I mean, we also saw how Shukri went to visit Rassie Erasmus.
Before the final. Brilliant picture.
Someone at the press conference actually asked, is Shukri and Rassie Erasmus going to visit Hugo Bruce before they go to the Africa Cup of Nations so that they can give him that champion spirit?
They probably should. I'll tell you what, I mean, what I do remember in 1996 when we won the African Cup of Nations, which is a year after we won the Rugby World Cup, right? Yeah. And of course, I was one of the privileged few of 100,000 people in an 80,000-seater stadium, which was called, FNB or Soccer City at the time, that the Springbok rugby team were all present at that final.
Yeah.
Which we beat Tunisia 2-0, right? All were there. So I think that the point that you make about, we talk about government of nationality with politics, but I think that there's still a sporting unity and camaraderie, which is just magic, and we need to hold on to that.
That's true. At the end of the day, we're all South Africans, and in terms of this shirt that I'm wearing, remember tomorrow the Proteas are going to be at the Nelson Mandela Square at Sandton City. So do make your way there between 1 and 3 p.m. The first 100 fans are going to get this T-shirt.
Can't we broadcast from there? Because if I go, they have to rush back home.
I know, right?
Like we should be
Management,
there.
I hope they're listening.
Andile? Okay.
I'll have more on other sports in the next hour.
Tension and drama will go above the rooftop as the believers want to play in the Big Boys League, while the citizens say they are used to life in Mzansi's Elite League. This is the PSL Promotional Playoffs. Catch Castrick Stars versus Cape Town City this Saturday, 21 June at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Also available at 3 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Northwest Provincial Legislature Portfolio Committee on Economic Development, Environment, Conservation and Tourism, chaired by Honorable Mpoko Nou, will be conducting public hearings on the Northwest Gambling Act Amendment Bill and the Northwest Consumer Affairs Bill on Friday, 20 June 2025 in Makobistad Community Hall, Ngakamudiri Molayama District, Khamogopa Community Hall, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda District, Rayvilo Community Hall, Dr. Ruth Somuti Mumpati District, and Manserre Community Hall in Pujanala District. All hearings start at 10.
SFM will be broadcasting live from the Sanlam Benchmarking Survey event at the Sandton Convention Center this Thursday, 19 June from 9 a.m. We'll be diving into all things retirement with Sanlam Corporate, unpacking their latest research on how South Africans are preparing or not for life after work. We'll chat to some thought leaders in the retirement space for their take on our collective readiness to retire confidently. Unfortunately, most South Africans may only retire with confidence at age 80. So how do we shift this reality? What can employers, policymakers, and individuals do to change the outlook? Join us for real insights into the future of retirement and employee benefits in South Africa. That's Thursday, 19 June from 9 a.m. only on SAFM. X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
So you do know, if you listen to the show often, I always talk about the ideal of us living in a champion nation where everything works and being best in class, right? And we also know the Minister of Sport just made the point about South Africa being top of its class in a whole range of different sports, including we are the World Test Cricket champions and the World Rugby champions. Besides that, a whole lot of other things too, right? So with that in mind, let's talk about this. Do you know who are the 20 best performing countries in Africa? Interesting one. So Jeune Afrique and the Africa Report put together a report, and we thought let's find out more about it. With me is Kanika Segal, who's the economics editor for the Africa Report. Kanika, appreciate your time and thanks for connecting with us on the National Pulse.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I would think when, some jobs are just jobs and some things are like so exciting, and trying to determine the 20 best performing countries on a continent is the type of thing I would do for nothing because it's just so exciting, isn't it?
It was a challenge. It was the first ranking of its sorts that we carried out at the Africa Report. And we really wanted to do something different. I think traditionally success has been measured by few metrics that don't really judge a country fully. It's not able to tell us exactly what's going on there. So, a lot of the metrics will look at GDP, economic growth, for instance, or they might look at the Human Development Index. But we wanted to take that and elevate it. So we've looked at metrics including economic growth and human development. We actually looked at 25 different metrics that we were able to channel within into 3 pillars. So we looked specifically at governance, innovation, and influence. And some of those, are a little bit more difficult to measure concretely. So there is some subjective information as part of this ranking. But I think it made us create a much fuller picture of what the top. And
we'll get to that list in just a moment, right? So you're saying, some of it is like a perfect science, easy to tabulate, and you're saying others will require deliberation. Who then would be part of the judging process that finally nails it down and say these are the top countries?
So we have a whole team at Jeune Afrique and the Africa Report that would adjudicate a lot of the information and collate a lot of the information throughout the year to rank the countries. So what we've done, because this is the first ranking, we've looked at economic indices and others from the last 3 years to be able to tabulate that. And there would be some things in there that might, knock a country down a few pegs. So I guess if there'd been a military coup in the last 3 years, I think the governance aspect of that would have meant that it would have lost a few points. But I think, real credit to the team because they've looked at some really interesting and innovative areas of judging themselves. So, for instance, when it came to influence at the global stage, not only did we look at, for instance, the number of embassies that a country would have overseas or within its own country, but they looked at things like Spotify downloads. If an artist from their country was being downloaded a certain amount, that kind of pushed them up in terms of the influence. And so so there was a lot of, I think there was a lot of fun when it came to looking at this ranking. So that was good for us.
Well, I would be looking at, besides the Spotify downloads, to say which of the many African countries can use their passport abroad without requiring a visa, because that would in many ways be an ultimate reflection of how the country is valued anyway, right? And we know the answer is not good, right? Let's, however, get to those 20 countries, that list that you have about the best performing African countries. Perhaps maybe give me the top 5.
So, if you look at our ranking, South Africa comes out on top. And then that's closely followed by Egypt, Morocco, Botswana, and Kenya. Now, I don't think it's going to come as much of a surprise as to why South Africa comes on top. It did well in terms of the influence and the innovation aspects of our ranking. Influence in particular is an interesting one that we're looking at, given South Africa's role in BRICS. Also now chairing the G20 coming up. So, I think that has put South Africa and Africa's agenda at centre stage, and that will hopefully, be very well shown in the coming up meetings next month as well. So I think, so South Africa coming out on top. What is interesting to note, again, if you look at the ranking in more granular detail, for instance, governance is weighted quite highly, but South Africa's governance level wasn't in the top 10. It actually, if you just look at governance alone, I think it was ranked maybe number 14. Wow. And I think that's partly because of the legacy of state capture. There is still a lot of issues with the state-owned enterprises. And I think even now, when we unpick some of the tension that you're seeing between within the GNU, the ANC and the DA, for instance, that's having an influence on the governance aspect.
Okay, so you're saying, but it's interesting, in spite of the low governance ranking, South Africa has got other qualities that has pushed it right to the very top of the continent. Very, very interesting indeed. Anything you'd like to comment on the others? I mean, you mentioned Egypt, Morocco, Botswana. Did I miss one in the top 5?
Kenya,
right.
Is also in the top
what did you pick up that's really interesting about each one of those, if you can?
I look at Egypt and Morocco, for instance. So, again, because this is a much broader ranking, that, the criteria we're looking at for this ranking is much broader. There are things like tourism, for instance, and Egypt and Morocco rank really highly on that, access to, just people coming to visit. Morocco also, performs really well given its financial services sector. And Egypt has really been able to leverage off of its geographical position as being this kind of, connection between Africa and the Middle East. So that's why those countries have been pushed up. And I guess what I do think is quite interesting to look at, and you can't necessarily pick this out from the ranking, is that, and this is why we supplement this ranking with some of our editorial content. So you could look at actually how some of the smaller countries across Africa are really going above and beyond. So if you think about smaller countries like Mauritania, I think Benin, and then you've got the island nations like Seychelles and Mauritius. They seem to do well in certain metrics because they've been able to really leverage off of what they've got. So Djibouti, for instance, again, access to the Red Sea, doing deals with Ethiopia, that has pushed up its influence score. So it doesn't necessarily reflect in the rankings, but I just think that, the smaller details that we pull out from doing such a broad, looking at such a broad range.
Just to end with, what about Botswana? It's an interesting country because it's actually a fairly large country in terms of landmass, but I think a very small country in terms of population, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think what Botswana really benefits from is the rule of law and ease of doing business. I think Botswana generally has been considered as quite, I think forward making in terms of their policies. So it's quite easy for people to do business there. I think when you think about, regime change or the recent elections, they've been peaceful and, I guess there haven't been any issues there. I think it also benefits from quite a sturdy economy. I think with economic growth has been quite steady over the last few years. So I think that those are all economic indicators that have really shown shown Botswana's strength.
Well, I certainly need to get hold of this report. I mean, how can we get hold of this report?
This would be where my kind of marketing head would come on, as even though I am, purely on the editorial side. But I would say it would be worth subscribing to the Africa Report. You'd be able to get a lot more granular detail around the ranking. Really good, interesting stories about kind of military influence that some of these African countries have. Again, a lot more detail on some of the island nations and their tax haven status and how that's changed over time. And even on some of the smaller countries in terms of geographical size and also population, and how they are able to leverage off of some of their unique capabilities.
Okay, well, you may just have got yourself a subscriber, hopefully at a discounted price as well. Anyway, I mean, that would make you top of the list in terms of of your popularity to me. So much appreciate your time. Anyway, Kanika Saigal, the economics editor for the Africa Report, talking about the 20 best performing African countries on the continent. And South Africa are champions.
Every murder has a moment when it could have been stopped. Countdown to Murder takes you inside the chilling timeline from ordinary days to unthinkable crimes. Real stories, real people, and the final hours before everything fell apart. Countdown to Murder. Every second tells a story. Thursdays at 9 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, so, well, of course you're listening to the Pulse, and of course you're on the Pulse yourself, aren't you? So let's get your thoughts on some of the issues we've been speaking about so far. That chat with Naim Jinnah regarding Iran versus Israel, the initial chat with the former national cricket selector about South Africa, the World Test Champions on a historic day, not because they just won over the weekend, but they've actually arrived in our country, completely celebratory, and that's fantastic too. But also maybe some of the other issues. And I know some people saying, come on, please talk about Floyd Shivambu because he's got a presser tomorrow. So anything else you want to get off your chest, I certainly want to hear you. Let's get to the calls first. Right, Colin, go for it. Hi.
Hi, Ashraf. Good evening.
Yeah.
You know, Ashraf, it takes a team to win something. You know, in 1995, Joel Stransky put over the winning kick and won the World Cup. Hardly any recognition was given to him. It was given to Francois Pienaar. We won the World Cup.
How do you draw that conclusion?
Hang on.
But I'm asking you the question because it's factually incorrect. I can tell you now there's not a moment when we talk rugby they don't show that picture of the scrum half, which would probably Joris van der Best, and passing it to Joel Stransky with that drop kick in extra time.
Correct. They show the picture, but I'm talking about after match. The news media, everything like that, is Francois Pienaar, the captain. Now, Andre Pollard won the World Cup, Rugby World Cup now, for us on a 60-yard kick. He won the World Cup, not Kolisi. Andre Pollard won it. Now today, the cricket, Markram scored 136. Poor Rajesh Rabada played so well. I'm listening to your radio this morning, everything sports, no mention of Rajesh Rabada, no mention of Markram. It's just Temba Bavuma.
I think you got it all wrong. I must tell you something.
Hang on.
No. You listen to me. I'm explaining to you because you're factually incorrect. There's a live commentary that takes place. There was massive recognition for the three. In fact, the three names you mentioned have been named in the Wisden Team of the Year, the Test Team of the Year, all three of them. This is 2-3 days later. There's further analysis, and it goes to the leader of the team, which just happens to be Temba Bavuma or Siya Kolisi or Francois Pienaar.
Correct. That's media. Now tell me something. I want to ask you a question. When they touch down in South Africa today, you know, I would have preferred them to shout out Proteas. Temba Bavuma never won the cup for us. It was Markram and Rajesh Rabada. Okay. People must stop picking their favourites.
Well, they always will pick their favourites. I mean, Colin, that's the obvious thing. Colin, thanks for your time. They're always going to pick their favourites, and you and I can't script how they feel in the moment and how they effectively want to amplify what they feel in terms of who they want to shout out about anyway. Some may think of the president in the same way. When you talk about a country, you look at the leader of the country and how that is a symbol of the country anyway. That's one thought. Let's get further. Sports, there are times you flop, there are times you pick up. Where American boxers used to be champions, no longer. That comes from Madoda. Ashraf, the U.S. is involved in this as if one looks a while back. The U.S. sent its aircraft carrier to Israel with warplanes and arms, and at the same time, it was engaging with Tehran with talks, but on the other hand, planning for airstrikes. And ultimately, on the 13th, the Zionist regime informed the U.S. about strikes, and Trumpet confirmed, I think it's Trump. And now we are in this, and the statement by Trump yesterday is not surprising at all. Today, the Iranian leadership has warned Trump, and Moscow has issued a statement, and we are watching the developments from now. So that's giving a complete commentary of how you see things happening. TG, thank you for that. Right, here's one about Trump and South Africa.
Hi, Ashraf and SAF listeners. Ashraf, we need an Iron Fist president like Donald Trump here in South Africa to deal with all our problems that we have, because clearly our government is not getting it right. We don't agree with all Donald Trump's views, but when it comes to putting your country first, I mean, that is what has to happen. That's what needs to happen. Our borders need to be closed. Our security needs to be more secure. I mean, these are simple things that presidents can do. But yeah, unfortunately, we have incompetent presidents. This is Clint from Port Elizabeth.
I have to say this. I mean, so yes, I think South Africa's had huge issues around porous borders, and something that we've touched on even yesterday on the show. But to then suggest that that's because of the inability of one person, as in Ramaphosa, as if he decides by decree, is not true, because he doesn't do it by decree. We have a democracy. On the other hand, you're the next person. I'm amazed how many people are admiring the hard, iron fist policies of Donald Trump. I mean, how has he succeeded in doing great things for his country? Like, has he got a track record, or is he meddling in other countries, including his internal affairs, that causes mass instability? Simply saying it like it is doesn't make him right, isn't it? And yet, he gets admiration.
Afternoon, Ashraf. This is Nabs Wasikipala. I wonder, why is America always involved where people are getting killed? I also wonder, what is the world doing? Because now it's not about what are they saying, it's about what are they doing to America, because where America is backing, obviously people are dying, and it's always supplying people unreasonable so. According to me at least. What is the world doing now about America? Because mainly it is America. The others are the young ones, small countries with no resources. Issue.
Well, I think that point has been amplified by many people, and you do the same as well. Thank you for that. Let's try and squeeze in one or two more before we get to the news. Here's another on the Middle East.
Good day, Ashraf and your team. Ashraf, I've just been glued to my TV, watching the war updates, for the past few days. It's said that, people are being affected by this war and dying, but it's also just satisfying to see a bully being punched in the face, for a change.
Not too sure which bully being punched in the face you're referring to, but I get your point anyway. Now let's get to the news. It's brought to you by Absa Ultimate Banking. Apply online to get 34 benefits subject to affordability and scoring. Benefits may be subject to limitations, terms and conditions apply. Absa is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. Here's the news with Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. Top stories at 4. Gauteng Scopa urged to hold its executive for accountability, and the return of the body of Zambia's former president Lungu halted. For SFM News, I am Ondela Mbane, and a very good afternoon. The Public Protector's Office has urged Gauteng Scopa to hold the provincial executive accountable for failing to implement unresolved remedial actions. These are from various investigations, including the failed R1 billion Alexandra Renewal Project. A 2021 joint investigation with the Human Rights Commission found poor service delivery, maladministration and human rights violations were committed by the City of Johannesburg and Gauteng government. The Public Protector's provincial representative, Vusumuzi Dlamini, says Scopa's intervention is crucial.
We also did not get any confirmation or commitment from the Office of the Premier with regard to whether this request has been made to the President for a proclamation for SIU to undertake the investigation of the ARP project. And then there was also the last recommendation which the Public Protector made in respect of the Alexandra Renewal Project, which was directed to the head of the box.
The City of Cape Town and 2 government departments have jointly applied for an eviction order in the Western Cape High Court against foreign nationals living in tents in Kensington and Bellville. They had fled their homes in the townships in 2020, alleging xenophobia. The foreign nationals were initially allocated to 2 sites after they were evicted from the Methodist Church building in the Cape Town city centre. The city, the Departments of Home Affairs and Public Works allege that the group has refused to integrate back to communities or accept assistance to be repatriated back to their countries of origin. Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber.
This problem started during COVID-19, and initially people were in the CBD and they were refusing to be relocated essentially. At that time they were insisting on being repatriated to countries like Canada or other countries in the north. So over the years the Department of Home Affairs, working with international agencies, have provided aid but also numerous opportunities for people to be repatriated to their home countries or take up other offers of assistance. But unfortunately the situation at this place in Wingsfield, for example, has become out of control.
The KwaZulu-Natal Department of Education has revised its mid-year June examination timetable. Schools were expected to resume June exams today. The department has issued a circular with new dates for common tests, including grade 12 learners. The common tests are due to be written from now until the 29th of July for learners in grade 10 to 12. Teachers' Union embarked on protest action because no-fee schools were not getting their full government subsidies, leaving many unable to administer the exams. Premier Taminduli intervened last week, making more funds available to the Education Department. KwaZulu-Natal SADU chairperson Phumlani Duma says they have suspended their pickets.
We therefore have agreed that given the commitment that the Premier has made that the money will be paid in 2 weeks, we can suspend the work to rule, giving an opportunity for them to process the payments, which they've promised that such money will be in the school's bank account on the 4th of July, and the other one would be coming on the 31st of July, which is the payment for the previous year, 2024. But for 2025, we are expecting the payment to be on the 4th of July.
However, another union, NATU, has emphasized that they will continue to picket until government has paid schools the full outstanding amount. NATU Secretary General Dr. Ngema has expressed his disappointment that some schools that are writing the common exams did not receive sufficient exam papers as promised by the department.
We are continuing with the pickets that are taking place up until such time that the department expedite the processes of transfers to schools, because we want to ensure that the money is indeed reaching schools down there, because we know the issues about department, promising money to come to schools but it does not come, and they always cite the issue of glitches. So we want accountability when it comes to issues pertaining to ensuring that the money reaches the schools there.
The family of Zambia's former president Edgar Lungu has halted the return of his body, accusing the government of breaching key agreements over his funeral. The arrangements had been finalized and his remains were due to be flown back home today from South Africa, or today on a private charter plane, after days of uncertainty and negotiations between the family and the government. But the family has now stopped that plan, saying it finds it very difficult to believe that the government will stick to their end of the agreement. President Hakainde Hichilema was scheduled to receive the body upon its arrival at the airport in the capital, Lusaka. Recapping the top story, the Public Protector's Office has urged Gauteng Scopa to hold the provincial executive accountable for failing to implement unresolved remedial actions. These are from various investigations, including the failed R1 billion Alexandra Renewal Project. I am Ondelambana for SAFM News, headlines at 4:30.
In sports this hour, Sports Minister promises the Proteas a reward and FIA approves plans for Kyalami upgrade. More details at 4:30.
And that news bulletin brought to you by ABSA Ultimate Banking. Apply online to get 34 benefits subject to affordability and scoring. Benefits may be subject to limitations. Terms and conditions apply. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Ultimate Value is opening an account with 34 benefits while getting her a treat. Ultimate Success is getting her the ballet shoes that you promised. With a 2,000 Rand balance booster, Ultimate Goals is living life on your own terms with a credit card with 0 monthly fees. ABSA Ultimate Banking is about having it all in one account for 98 Rand per month. Apply online now. Your story matters. ABSA, subject to affordability and scoring. T's and C's apply. ABSA is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
This week on Off-Pitch Goals. After league and cup triumphs for Kaizer Chiefs, Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns, George Maluleka, Lesonolo Majoro, and George Lebesi embark on a journey to conquer the glamorous world of cosmetics. Join us as we find out how they maneuver through this highly competitive industry. Streaming on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 on Saturday, 21 June at 8:30 p.m. Off-Pitch Goals, where we showcase how the stars score in business. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
It's that time of year. The annual Drakensberg Boys Choir Music in the City is upon us. Classic choral works, African rhythms, and foot-stumping Afropop at the Joburg Theatre. 18 to 21 June. Book now on bbchoir.com. See you there.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
I'm telling you what, of all the things that has happened in the last couple of days in the city, there's lots happening, as you know, Israel, Iran, USA, South Africa's cricket team arriving here. This one, the tweet from Floyd Shivambu, should certainly get you thinking. We chatted about it yesterday, remember, about where to for Floyd, because the president of the MK party, Jacob Zuma, making the point that, we've had seven leaders in terms of secretary generals, and that's just the way we do things when they make a mistake, without giving names. So lots of questions about the future of Floyd Shivambu. Well, his tweet said, tomorrow, which is Thursday, the 19th of June, we have a press conference to speak about political developments in South Africa. Those who have worked with us know that the guiding dictum and principle is guided by Amilcar Cabral, who says, hide nothing from the masses of our people. Tell no lies. Expose lies whenever they are told. Mask no difficulties, mistakes, failures. Claim no easy victories. And then he said, it's in our DNA to speak the truth because truth is revolutionary. And then there's a notice about the actual presser, which will happen at 12 o'clock. So 12 noon tomorrow, right? Now, there was another post again, and all of it with No logo, nothing of the MK party, just of his own, even though the other one was sort of very greenish looking. That could well have suggested that, but it's not an MK party presser. It's a Floyd Shivambu presser. So seriously speaking, what do you think he's going to say? Or perhaps, what would you like him to say? What do you think he's going to say? What would you like to hear from him when he says no lies and just speaks the truth? Talking about the truth, the NPA, the Hawks and the Special Investigating Unit were all before the Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts at SCOPA, right? And they had to explain perceived delays in some cases that they've dealt with. In fact, as you know on the show, many people have been angry with the NPA and others in terms of their ability to effectively gain convictions and nail people down. So we picked out some clips from that session today. Here's a few of them. Firstly, the head of the NPA, as you know, is Advocate Shamila Batoyi, and she touched on that issue that has been so emotional, the issue why the prosecutors in the Timothy Omotoso case were removed.
On the issue of the prosecutors that were changed originally, and I'll deal with the link to the Fort Hare matter as well. Those prosecutors, there were allegations at the outset that they had acted improperly and were influencing the witnesses in the Omotoso matter. Because of that, the team was indeed changed. The investigation into the conduct of those prosecutors at that time did not start immediately, for the reason that in order to proceed against them, to investigate their conduct, we needed of necessity to have the evidence of the witnesses themselves, because the allegations were that they were being improperly influenced. So the Deputy National Director, Advocate de Kock at the time, working with the DPP in the division, Mr. Madolo, decided that we will delay that investigations until the victims were already going through, testifying in this matter was not easy for them. So we will delay that start of that investigation until the witnesses had completed testimony. And so that investigation, in fact, commenced last year in August. So that team that was changed, and I'll deal with the link to the Fort Hare matter in a minute, and then the judge in that matter was very critical of the new team that actually prosecuted that matter. And the judge in the matter acquitted Omotoso, criticizing the conduct of the prosecutors relating to, for example, cross-examination, relating to certain evidence that was not led. So with regard to that aspect, which is the new team, immediately after that, I appointed a team of very experienced prosecutors from outside of the Eastern Cape to look into the transcript of that matter.
Right, there's more. So Action SA's MP Ethel Trollop, as you know, and then so he questioned Advocate Shamila Batoyi about how the prosecutors themselves actually botched the Timothy Omotoso case, and then how they, in fact, were appointed to another big case.
Let's use one case, the Omotoso case. We've been told here that there's a mechanism that's being developed to track cases. We hear about reviews, all that kind of thing. In the Omotoso case, the original prosecutors were removed from the case for incompetence. Was that taken under review? Was their removal taken under review? Because what confounds me is they've been reappointed to the Fort Hare case, which involves massive corruption, supply chain management infiltration, and assassinations. We know that the Omotoso case was botched by the second team, botched by two teams from the NPA. But the first team was reappointed. By whom? Was it taken under review? What were the consequences of that review?
It's about the same prosecutor who was removed that was then involved in the Fort Hare matter. You're correct. And the minute that was brought to my attention, I spoke to Mr. Madolo and asked him exactly that question. How is it that the prosecutor who was seriously criticized in one matter is now involved in a very, very high-profile matter? He was then immediately removed from the team. So these are issues that the DPP in and I've asked him for a report, and I'm not sure if we've got Advocate Mzniati sitting behind, whether we've got, the very question I ask is, how is it possible that a prosecutor criticized in one matter is then put in charge of a very, very high-profile matter? I do want to also say that, maybe I shouldn't say this. Okay, I'll leave it at that. But I hope that I've asked, and really, you know, the word that Honourable Trollop used is that the prosecutors botched this matter. Now, I would urge that we wait until the appeal to then decide whether the prosecutors in fact botched the matter, like the New Lane matter, where the prosecutors were seriously criticized. And of course, we do lose cases. There's not a 100% conviction rate. That is the nature of our democracy. It's the nature of our justice system. It's the strength of our justice system.
You know, that pause from Shamila Batory, and like, maybe I shouldn't say it, but a chuckle just got me thinking about that commission of inquiry into match fixing in cricket, you know, with Hansie Cronje, captain, okay, by the way, and I think there's one of the people who were testifying, and they said, okay, can I say something, but what did they say? Off the record. Yeah, can I say something off the record? I think we all had a chuckle at that time. But there's more here. So the NPA head Shamila Batory then talked about the role of the asset forfeiture unit.
And the importance of the work of asset forfeiture in the fight against corruption. And because it is all about money. And so we have a two-pronged strategy to dealing with corruption. One is prosecutions and getting people, as you mentioned, in orange overalls, Chair, which for various reasons takes very, very long time. The other prong is asset recovery, to take away the funds. And in terms of the Act, Prevention of Organized Crime Act, you can have civil recovery or you can have criminal, conviction-based recovery. And to explain so that people know, the conviction-based recoveries are dependent on a successful prosecution. So those recoveries will take longer because prosecutions take longer for various reasons that we can talk about. But the civil-based recovery is in terms of Chapter 6 of POCA, which is not dependent on a conviction. But there we can move quicker, and that is where the AFU has been doing exceptionally good work in terms of trying to recover monies in terms of Chapter 6 of POCA, utilizing a very innovative corporate alternate dispute resolution mechanism that we have put in place. And to explain, we have guidelines, and this is where, and I want to be clear about this because there's some misunderstanding about this mechanism. This is where only the corporates, the companies, can come forward and disclose their involvement in corruption, and we reach an agreement with regard to a settlement damages that they can pay back towards the state. But it does not include individuals. So directors and individual persons are still subject to prosecution, but the benefit of the resolution, one of them is that the corporate agrees to actually work with the investigators to provide evidence against individuals who will still be subject to prosecutions. We've had...
Right, that's where we're going to pause. We'll chat to Khaya Sitole. I'd call him a super fan, super South African cricket fan shortly, just to get an insight of what it was like being at Lord's itself on the day that South Africa won the World Test Championships. But in the meantime, your views matter. Kirk in Cape Town, go for it.
Hi, Ashraf. I don't know if you know. Where does the money go to from the asset forfeiture unit? Who looks after those assets that get liquidated to pay government for crime? Has anybody ever declared what happens to that money?
Okay, good question. Let me not even guess. If somebody knows better than I do, let them just confirm exactly what happens to that money, right? Because you're right, it's massive amounts of money that should get back into where? Somewhere? Government coffers, I would think, right? But let me not guess. Kirk, thank you for that, right? Okay, in fact, we'll get to Khaya Sitole right after this.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
This week on Off-Pitch Goals. After league and cup triumphs for Kaizer Chiefs, Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns, George Maluleka, Lesonolo Majoro and George Lebesi embark on a journey to conquer the glamorous world of cosmetics. Join us as we find out how they maneuver through this highly competitive industry. Streaming on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 on Saturday, 21 June at 8:30 p.m. Off-Pitch Goals, where we showcase how the stars score in business. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
By the way, we're going to chat to the DA regarding a position that they've taken around the higher education minister being referred to the ethics committee for lying to Parliament. That comes up just now. We'll also chat later on to Aslam Kota, just getting a cricket insight into South Africa's winning of the World Test Championship. So one person who was there, ringside view, I would say, is Kaya Sitole. He doesn't miss a beat. French Open the week before, Lords a week later. And I would sort of publicly say, Kaya, you're very much the super fan of South African sport.
I'm trying to be. It's a very, very demanding exercise, trying to keep up with all the sports codes. But yeah, ideally, that's what I'd like to be.
Well, I mean, I think you're clearly succeeding. And look, I know you know that you're very, very prominent in your support of the team at Lords in particular, because a lot of the video camera footage captured you, hands aloft. But I mean, I think even before the game started, making the point about how we'll do well. And I think you even made the point about Markram playing a significant role in that, right? So we thought, let's talk about it, less about the game, more like what was it like? Because I was not there. You were the ears and eyes of being there for 3.5 days, right, at Lords?
Yeah, look, it was a very exciting time, particularly because I think you could see the support that showed up. There were a lot of people that came, not only just from those who live around the United Kingdom, but also came in from South Africa during that time. So even the flights on the way there, you could clearly see that people had committed to doing this. We had started planning it as soon as we qualified for the final to say we're definitely going to be there. And I think for a lot of people, it represented a moment to just be able to show support to the team on for a game that a lot of people thought we didn't stand a chance of winning, but we felt that, look, even if the chance is minimum, their best chance of maximizing on that option is to have as much support as possible. So there was really a lot of those particular teams and particular groups that said that we'll be there for all the days that it will take for us to get them across the line.
And I mean, did you feel that was important? So you're quite right. South Africa went in as the underdogs. They went in against, in many ways, the super dogs of Australia, who, for all intents, people say they don't lose big games, they don't lose finals at all. So you knew that even traveling there, there's a good chance you're going to be wiped out in 3 days, and the discussion's over, isn't it? And yet you went. What was the overall motivating factor? I know you said we'll give them support, but was there a stronger goal that you felt that you had?
Yes, actually there was, because for a lot of us, what's been frustrating is that obviously with this new colonial capture of the world cricket system, a lot of South Africans were even doubting a lot of cricketers across the world were doubting the legitimacy of the team having qualified, given how few test matches we played and who we played. And I personally felt that was quite ironic, in that you've got all these big three teams that have essentially monopolized cricket for themselves, and then we had to make do with whatever was put on our table. And once we capitalized on that, then we had to prove our legitimacy. So I do think that it was important for us to be able to say that, look, actually, as South Africa and as South African fans, we still want to have test cricket. We still want to build a team that can compete. And here's the team that we have based on what little we've been given of the slice of the pie.
So then, if I look at the actual game proper, so I mean, the Aussies get like our 220 odd in the first innings, which may seem to be a low score until the other team bats. As we know, you have to see what the pitch looks like. And we collapsed to like about 130 all out, so giving a lead of about 80, which you know and I know in a low-scoring game, that is a huge, huge deficit. I mean, so to borrow the example of the French Open, that's like being 2 sets down, isn't it?
Yeah, well, maybe 3 match points down if you Carlos Alcaraz. So I think, obviously, one thing that was always going to be decisive is just how the toss went. And I think once we won the toss, we felt that, look, maybe the gods are smiling on us, particularly if you look at what the conditions were on day one. And then obviously, as we got into our innings, and then we thought that, look, we need to get this right. And then you saw flashbacks of what we've seen before. I think we remember some particularly problematic collapses that we've had in previous years. So a lot of us were getting a bit anxious, but we still thought with KG Rabada in particular and maybe Janssen, we still stood a good chance of acquitting ourselves quite well in the third innings, and then making sure that in the fourth innings we'll try and capitalize on what had been predicted to be much better betting conditions. So it was a true test match in that one session swung one way, another session swung in another. And for those of us who still regard Test cricket as really the only form of cricket, that was quite exciting to be able to see a competitive Test match that reminded us why Test cricket has always been our primary passion.
Absolutely. Well, so when South Africa faced in the fourth inning, but the end result is actually very, very convincing, right? Where we lost very few wickets to reach that rather large target of 280 odd, right? But did you have a sense? Because I felt it as well, because we've lost so many big games, and just in cricket, as you can get a 147-run partnership, you can also lose 5 wickets in 10 runs, right? Did you ever, not just you, but the other fans at Lords, ever have this concern when Bavuma went out in particular, and maybe the next batsman, that, goodness man, new ball coming up, there could be a collapse here, before we know it, we could throw it all away, as was happened in the T20 World Cup against India in that final a few months back, or last year?
Well, yeah, but then it also happened that we had been sitting with JP Duminy on the second day, and a lot of us actually spent a lot of time reflecting on what had happened in Australia many years ago, when it was JP Duminy and Dale Steyn and then Graham Smith. So our feeling was that, look, when we come out to bat with so much time around us still available in the game, then the sense of panic associated with trying to score as many as quickly as possible wasn't going to be there. And it was simply going to be a matter of 1 or 2 partnerships based on patience and resilience are going to get us there. And that's when I made that prediction that, look, Aiden Markram looked aggrieved enough about what had happened in the first innings that was probably going to be the man that put up his hands, and he truly did so. So there was obviously, again, when you watch a test match, you go through so many different permutations and so many different emotions, but I think there was some hope that, look, for as long as they don't panic because of the time that we have still in the game, we stood a very good chance when we started the fourth innings.
Now, often you and I have spoken on many occasions, but around other issues like governance and leadership and ethics and things in the accounting space. And we're talking to you as a super fan, because in many ways it is rather strange. You've been put up, maybe unintentionally or maybe intentionally, as like the poster boy that best reflects South African sport. How do you feel about the level of prominence that you actually achieved in the last few days?
Well, it can be a bit awkward because you're thinking, well, actually, I'm just here to try and enjoy the game. And the worst thing is that if you then go there and you lose, everyone will be like, what on earth were you thinking? Didn't you learn anything from the past 25 to 26 years? So it was quite interesting and also exciting. But there were also quite a few guys that I think were in the same spot where, like, some people at home said, don't do this. They're going to let you down. But there we were. And in fact, even some of my friends said, what are you smoking, predicting that Aiden Markram is going to do anything? And since then, they've all been eating humble pie. So you back the team, you support your country. It's the patriotism being translated into an actual tangible participation in the field.
Well, you predicted Markram will do well, and he did. I didn't give a name, but I predicted that if 2 players can get a partnership of 150, we'll win the match. I was out by 3 runs, so there we are. But let's get back to the final result. So now you get 5 runs out to win. Markram goes out. Okay, fine. It is less significant. And we actually finally win the match, and we are the world Test champions. And in that moment, what do you think?
For me, it was the trauma of 1999 finally being exorcised. And I think a lot of people probably had a story of where they had thought there was one match or one tournament where we stood a very good chance and then things just went badly. So for me, what had happened is that in 1999, I was actually still in boarding school in rural KZN. And on that night, we actually only had one walkie-talkie, and I was the one that had the walkie-talkie. So in the middle of a school event, everyone came to me and said, what's the score? And I had to tell everyone that we had lost, and I'd never recovered from that moment. So I thought when this finally happened, I said, wow, it's been 27 years of just trying to remember how traumatic it was, especially when you're young, when you experience that. It was something that we've always wished to exercise. So I think there was that sense of relief, and then the realization that, yeah, it's actually been a journey with this team.
Absolutely, and ironically, that game of '99 was not even a lose; it was a tied match, and which we won't even get into the anomalies of that, right? But just the last thing. So when the celebrations were superb. I think Irostemba Bavuma also made the point about the massive home support that they had at the stadium, and we could see that, right? What was it like? I mean, just as we wrap up now, what was it like just being part of a home ground advantage at Lord's?
It was quite fulfilling because what we then really noticed is that the neutrals were definitely on our side with maybe a few exceptions. But also when you spoke to some Australians afterwards, it felt like they were the team that we were the team that they'd rather have lost to rather than obviously if it had been England or India. So there was some general goodwill on the sense that, well, we've tortured you so many years over so many other tournaments and perhaps it's your time to shine. So I do think that there was a general sense of goodwill that we probably wouldn't have witnessed if other teams had been involved in the final.
Well, I think even Piers Morgan said, I'm a South African for today, and that just shows you how things can transform so quickly, and sport does that. Well, I tell you what, Superfan, Khaya Sithole, much appreciate your time and continuing to champion the good cause that is South Africa in all aspects of the global world that you're a part of. Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, Eastern Cape Police have opened 2 murder cases following the discovery of 2 burnt bodies of young women at KwaNobuhle outside Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape. The Public Protector's Office has urged Gauteng Standing Committee on Public Accounts to hold the provincial executive accountable for failing to implement unresolved remedial actions. And the feud between the late former Zambian President Edgar Lungu's family and the government of Lusaka has delayed the repatriation of his body from South Africa. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Gous.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 northbound in Houghton Estate has a crash before 11th Avenue. The R21 northbound in Pretoria has a stationary truck on the on-ramp to the N1 North. And the N3 southbound in Germiston, a crash before Elands Interchange. In KZN, the N2 southbound queuing on the link to the N3 West at Spaghetti Junction. The N3 westbound has a crash before the Pavilion Shopping Centre exit and Dungeni Road westbound, slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, Voortrekker Road eastbound is slow moving through Maitland, Victoria Road outbound slow moving through Woodstock, and the M5 northbound slow moving towards the N1 Koeberg interchange. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Nkgapele.
So, Tumi, what's the story? You get into trouble, you get summoned to the White House. You do well, you get summoned to the Union Buildings or something like that?
Absolutely. President Cyril Ramaphosa has extended an invitation to the Proteas team to have dinner with him to celebrate their World Test Championship. And according to Sports Minister Gayton McKenzie, they won't leave that dinner empty-handed. He says that the team deserves to be rewarded, even though the Sports Ministry doesn't have enough funds to give all teams in different sporting codes bonuses.
Very important. When it doesn't go.
But on a serious note, I was so happy when the president said he must invite the team. That means it's now above Panyaza, it's now above me, and it's above Batume, because now when we go see the president for lunch or dinner, I'll be like, President, you will make the announcement of the bonus from you there. So I moved that because my bonus is still, I can hold it in my wallet. The president's one come with a briefcase. It's bigger. And I can say to you, surely we owe this team a great debt of gratitude. And we have to do something for them as government. And not only for them, because we've been winning for all the other winning teams. Day one is just recent, and they're going to the big boss, and they'll not leave empty-handed there if I can have my way. And we'll have a poker game immediately after they got the bonus. Thank you.
Well, the Proteas men's side are not the only side that deserves to be praised. Also, the Proteas women and Captain Laura Favard, she has lauded her opening partnership with Tasman Brits as being at the heart of their win over the West Indies in their third and final ODI, which gave them a 2-1 series win. Favard scored 75, while Brits snatched up her 4th century in the 50-over international circuit to lead them to a total of 278. Rain had a lot to do with the proceedings last night as South Africa won by 166. This is via the Duckworth-Lewis method, and the skipper says that the synergy between them makes it a lot easier to play together and build a solid foundation up front.
Very important. When it doesn't go well, you know, it gets spoken about a lot. I think we've put on a lot of good stands in the past couple of years batting together. It's really nice batting with her. I think we almost don't really need to look at where the ball is. We just like know when to run and stuff like that, and did really well encouraging each other to be nice and positive today. So yeah, it was nice to bat out in the middle. I think we have quite a good record together, so that change in mindset and that good intent today was awesome.
Then some great news. The FIA has given the Kyalami Grand Prix circuit Grade 1 status, boosting the possibility of Formula 1 returning to South Africa. Kyalami has been keen to make a comeback on the calendar along with the nation as a whole, and now has 3 years to complete the works that guarantee the status, which is said to be revolving around barrier fencing, curbs, drainage and runoff area. I always just imagine Formula 1 back in South Africa. Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen.
Oh my goodness.
Lando Norris. And the list just goes on.
So excited. And you know what? One of the listeners just messaged to say, why does your sports anchor have her sunnies on her head? Is the future so bright? So maybe...
It's too bright, especially when it comes to sports in South Africa, because, I mean, we're smiling here because of the Proteas. I'm also smiling because of Mamelodi Sundowns, and Coach Miguel Cardoso says that he was very pleased that his Chargers were able to keep up with the pace of Ulsan HD in the FIFA Club World Cup opener, benefiting with a well-executed game plan, and that victory, it means that Sundowns are the first African side at the tournament to win a game, and next up for them, it's Borussia Dortmund.
I confess to you, I didn't see the game. My assistants, they did. I was finalizing the PowerPoint that I've made for the meeting today with the players. I was focused on this game most of all. But I have already in my computer 45 minutes of small parts of their games, so that on the way back I can already look at them. I heard that it seems that the game was not intense. The question is that our game also today was not very intense. I'm even curious to see, because as much as we want the heat, the conditions take out a little bit of the possibility to perform physically. The question is how much you give on what you can give, and if you take it to the limit. Every game will have a different story. Now we need to recover, see if everyone is okay, how to approach the game, understand obviously Dortmund, and then define a strategical approach so that we can be competitive. It's very important that after this victory we can make the next two games competitive games. We're going to play against the best ones now, the best ones. So, fantastic test. We are so keen on it.
Elsewhere, Liverpool will kick off their Premier League title defence at home to Bournemouth. This is on the 15th of August, while Arsenal head to Manchester United in a blockbuster clash on the opening weekend. Arne Slot's champions have the chance to secure the first points of the season at Anfield as they launch the 2025-26 campaign. On that note, it is a wrap from my side. Looking forward to motorsport in South Africa, hopefully in the next 3 years.
Well, you're clearly very, very, very confident.
Yeah.
Okay. And tomorrow you're going to be at the other celebration?
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
This Youth Month, SAFM celebrates the spirit, power and potential of young South Africans. Join us as we dive into conversations that matter, from innovation to education and skills for the changing world. Empowering youth for meaningful economic participation. Because at SAFM, we're not just talking, we're leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Well, as always, let's get to those numbers with Makwe Masilela, the Chief Investment Officer at Makwe Fund Managers. Good to connect with you as always. You've got local and global markets to consider. But let's start with final results for Brait.
Yes, Ashraf, afternoon to you and to your listeners. Remember, this is an investment holding company, and their largest investment is Virgin Active, which experienced growth when it comes to membership and yields, and that led to revenue growth. And Premier Group also continued strong performance, with their Milkbake being a star performer. And New Look, unfortunately, with difficult trading conditions in the UK fashion market, continued to significant discounting, resulting in a 4% decrease in sales. And Brait, Ashraf, turned from losses of almost 171 million rands to profits of 153 million. And this ongoing Israel-Iran conflict looked set to escalate further amid reports that the US was mulling whether to join the war against Iran. Late in the afternoon that it won't surrender, and market participants also waiting for the Fed interest rate decision later tonight. Locally, our May consumer inflation was unchanged at 2.8%, but uncertainty around its outlook amounts because oil prices have now surged to almost $76 a barrel, and our April retail sales rose sharply by 5.1%, the strongest growth since January. This is a good indicator of consumer demand, and next week we are resuming our trade talks with the US, and that will be on the sidelines of the US-Africa Business Summit in Luanda, which is in Angola. Oil traders are assessing chances of supply disruption, and so far since Friday, oil prices are up almost 10%, but today Brent crude is down 1.6% at $75 a barrel. Yellow metal is steady, carefully trading ahead of the Fed decision, and as it is, gold is flat at 3,385, but platinum is up 3.5% at 1,306. Ashraf, markets are in a wait-and-see mode, though the degree of resilience given the political uncertainty has been very impressive. And today, global markets are mixed, with the JSE up 0.2%, lifted mainly by resources which are up 0.5%. Rand firmed almost 0.2% against the US dollar, 17.97, 24.22 against the pound, and 20.71 against the euro.
Okay, perfect. And of course, we'll connect with you again around the same time tomorrow, Makwe. Don't forget as well, we have the SAFM market update from 6 to 7 this evening.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Well, I want to hear you. You're on the Pulse. What's your take on some of the biggest issues we've chatted about already and that you may want to talk about even further? Naturally, the issue of Floyd must come up.
Afternoon, Ashraf. Yeah, Shivambo is going to lie. Even in that press briefing, he's going to lie. He lied to us, saying he was being misled. He was misled to think that Zuma is a thief. Oh, that man is a liar. He's a liar. He's going to try. She's going to convince us otherwise. He's a liar. Don't believe in him. Thank you.
Well, you said it quite a few times, a liar. Let's see him speak the truth tomorrow, because that's really what he's saying, isn't it? Here's another.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and your team. The NPA, this lady, he has been quiet all along. We complain about him. We say lots of things about him. He must resign. He must leave that office. Today, because of we want him out of that office, he's calling press. He called press briefing. We are not interested. He needs to leave that office with no fear or favor. That lady is already done a damage. It's fine. He needs to leave that office. He's not fit at all. We are not going to polish that. It's not fit. It ends there. Keep here. See, Mama Tosana.
Well, Percy, listen, you can have whatever your opinion about Shamila Batory, and many people believe that, she should be made to walk the plank. I think she's only got about 6 months to go, by the way, before she steps down in terms of her term. But she didn't have a press briefing. It was a requirement in terms of Scopa summoning different organs that they choose to, in this case here the NPA and the Hawks, to testify like they've done with sport last week. You may follow it. And even the Minister of Sport, we've also had SAFA. There was different organizations get called up by portfolio committees and in Parliament to effectively answer for where they're going. So this was another example of that.
Good afternoon, SAFM. And yeah, Ashraf, I agree fully with Colin, the previous caller, that reckon they don't give recognition to all the other players. Yeah, stop it, Ashraf. Ashraf, please stop it. Yeah, give due to the rightful guys. Thank you. Sharp, sharp.
I think you're missing the point. There was tremendous recognition for those players, but there's a natural rallying around a captain when a team wins a World Cup. But in terms of the performance, that's why Mark Ramon man of the match, man. Think about that.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I just, I just love the two Collins, the one in Cape Town and the one in USA. And our Colin today wants other people that he's thinking they must be, recommended, applaud. He doesn't want to listen. That's that's his choice. Those people he's talking about, it's his choice. And those people who are chosen are the choice of the people who chose them. Sharp, Ashraf. Good afternoon.
Well, precisely. That's precisely the point, isn't it? That we can go to an airport, and if 10 of us want to cheer for our favorite player, that's completely our business, isn't it? Who cheers louder will get heard more. More calls. Let's talk about war. Vuyiswa, go for it. Hello.
Yes, Ashraf, how are you?
I'm good.
Thanks
indeed.
for taking my call.
Much appreciated,
yes. Yeah, listen, I have a problem with the Western powers or Western people, because they brought a lot of God concepts into the world and influence people, knowing very well that they don't respect that God. Because it's inhuman what they are doing, these wars, unnecessary wars, Because if you look at it, why are they fighting? Can we ask them a question? What is the fight all about?
Well, it's clear there's vested interest, and that's what they do. They protect
Power,
their interests.
control, ownership of things that they don't belong to anybody. Because, for instance, the US, it cannot go boasting about being a power. This is a gangsterism, what is happening here now.
Okay, got that. Gangsterism is what is happening right now regarding potential war, or some may say potential world war. Vuyiswa, thanks for that. Willie in Kuma, go for it. Batohi is on your agenda.
Yeah. You see, man, Ashraf, your program is raising our blood to the highest level. You see, unfortunately,
I'm checking my pulse as I talk to you. Literally, it's a steaming line.
Really,
Okay.
Look. I'm going to be controversial, unfortunately, because of your program and because of the situation around Batohi, Shamila Batau. I've just listened to her responding to this guy of XNSA Trollope, you see. And then you could hear, Ashraf, that really she doesn't have facts completely. And then you see, I remember one, I don't know whether it was Breitenbach, that former judge, who was saying that there's a lot of Mickey Mouse structure going on around our judicial system. And then one guy also talked about the circus, that our judicial system is becoming a circus. Now, Ashraf, when Willie is saying that, okay, it seems as if our lady ministers, our lady prosecutors are failing us, then Willie will be regarded as a male chauvinist.
But why would you? But who said the ladies are failing us because they're ladies?
Listen here. It's because, look, Rietjeha failed dramatically in the past. Mukubani also failed dramatically in the past. And Masipa also failed us big time, you know that. And the latest case held by one lady regarding Omotoso also, it's a disaster.
I can think about 10 males in other portfolios also failing. It's true.
But men's exposures are a little bit advanced. You see, it's too early to bring ladies on the forefront. It's too early. Let us go with them slowly but slowly. You see,
I don't know where we're going to go with this.
Listen, that our judicial system is in compromise because of the so-called gender-based.
Oh my goodness!
Gender
All right.
equality. Yes.
Really? We
Look
can
what
talk
is
all
happening.
evening for this one. I'll tell you what. But I mean, I can imagine many people say like, no, that's just not true. But anyway, you made your point, William Kumar. Thank you. At the forefront, all failing. If we say that in 30 years of democracy, 31 years, there's about 20 things wrong in South Africa, we're actually suggesting that leadership of all the things that are not working resides with women only. I mean, just do the numbers, you'll get quite a bit of a shock, I would think, isn't it? Right, let's get to some of the other comments that we've had. Another one on Floyd.
Ashraf, and afternoon to your listeners. Bongani Mashinini here in Kwakwa, in Malutapofu, Mabulela. I think the briefing of Floyd Shivambu tomorrow, maybe it's a resignation from the MKP. That's what I'm thinking, because being removed as the Secretary General, it doesn't suit him well. I think he will resign and step aside from the politics. Who knows? But that's my thinking. Thank you, Ashraf.
Do you really think he's going to step aside from politics? Others may say it's absolutely in his blood. In fact, first things first, will he stay within the MK party? Or you think that political transfer is long gone? Well, you are connected to the National Pulse. You tell me, what moves the pulse for you today? We certainly know what moves for many other people, but I'll leave it up to you. You're on the pulse.
The land is their legacy, but in season 3 of Yellowstone, that legacy is under fire. Kevin Costner returns as John Dutton, fighting to protect his ranch, his family, and everything that can't be bought. More enemies, deeper betrayal, and the battle for the West, it's only just begun. Yellowstone Season 3. This land was won with blood, and it'll take more to keep it. Saturdays at 9:30. Starts 24 May. Only on S3. Open up.
Amidst misinformation and disinformation, where can we find reliable news? Turn to radio, your trusted source for truthful updates. For over 3 decades, we've upheld integrity as a signatory to the BCCSA Broadcasting Code of Conduct. Count on us for news you can trust. Say no to fake news. Radio, keeping it real since day one. A message from the National Association of Broadcasters. Tune in, trust, and stay informed.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, so talking about people at the helm, right? This one's important. The public protector, Advocate Xoleka, finds that there was mismanagement in the construction of the 22 million rand Lesserton Stadium in the Eastern Cape. I think there was a big debate about that. Just hear this out.
The allegation that there were procurement irregularities in the awarding of a tender to Talami Civil Pty Ltd JV in the amount of 22.7 million rands for the construction of Lesserton Sports Field by the functionaries of the Enoch Mgijima local municipality is substantiated. These irregularities included, amongst others, the following. The total amount of the award bid exceeded the budget amount of 18.7 million rands that was approved by COGTA in the 2017-2018 financial year. The awarded tender exceeded the budgeted amount by over 4.7 million rands, and there is no evidence that the municipality approached the municipal council for additional funding as required by Section 19, subsection 1 of the Municipal Finance Management Act.
And there's more from the public protector, who then made the point, which in fact she outlined the irregularities in the actual advertising of this tender.
The tender advertisement had 2 different closing dates and was not placed in 3 different publicly accessible platforms as required by Regulation 22, subsection 1A and Clause 22, subsection 1A of the Municipal Supply Chain Management Policy. The tender advertisement period was shortened from 30 days to 14 days, and the reasons provided was that the construction of Lesotho sports field was an emergency. The municipality's definition of emergency in this regard is found not to be in line with the definition in terms of Regulation 22, subsection 2 of the Municipal Supply Chain Management Policy. The evidence suggests that 2 bid evaluation processes took place. The first process resulted in bidder 1 being the preferred bidder, whereas the second process utilized a different formula provided by the BAC and culminated in Thalami Civils, which was the 4th. The reasons advanced by the municipality for not awarding the tender to the highest scoring bidder was that the bidder had recently received a tender of a similar magnitude. The reasons provided by the BAC did not amount to, I quote, objective criteria and was not supported by any legal or rational authority. Moreover, this reason was not part of the evaluation criteria in terms of the specification or determined by the BEC. Thalami Civils was therefore appointed in contravention of Section 2, subsection 1E and F of the PPPFA, which provides that a contract must be awarded to the tenderer who scores the highest points unless objective criteria justify the award to another tenderer. The allegations that there were irregularities in the management of the contract and a lack of proper oversight on the Lesotho sports field construction project by the local and provincial governments, resulting in no value for money, is substantiated.
Okay, there we have significant position they're taken by the public protector, right? Let's do this. Let's get to some of the calls now. We're going to go first to Limpopo, and I love the fact that we are able to speak to people across the nation, therefore the National Pulse, but very often across the world. People listening on streaming live. You know, you can catch us on streaming live audio, but also video in terms of visual form, YouTube, on the X platform as well as on Facebook. You'll see us live as I talk to you. If you want to see what Tumi was wearing, as we discussed, that champion T-shirt that I'm not wearing, goodness man, well, you can certainly check it out in a few minutes time when she gets to read sport. But let's get to calls. Madri in Limpopo, go for it. Madri,
How
hi.
are you,
Yeah, how's it, man? What's your point?
My point is, I would like to talk about this. The governing board, which is called the ANC, together with the SSCP and the COSATU. The SSCP and COSATU were compliant to the ANC because they let the ANC to destroy this country as it is today. And then right now, the ANC is trying very hard to say that they are going to rebuild the South Africa. I don't know how can you destroy something in our face, seeing you that you are destroying, and then you destroyed South Africa until to the state which it is right now, and to think that you can go and build it. When the ANC took over this country, it was not like this. And then the life was better, and jobs were created, and people were working. And today, our people are struggling.
But do you seriously think that lives were better? I mean, I accept the fact there's a lot that's been problematic in the government of the last 31 years or so. But when you say lives were better, you have to measure then, whatever, the entire population now versus then. And let's just start with apartheid. Can you ever say that apartheid was better? Seriously.
No, I don't say that apartheid was better. But when you compare the apartheid time to this one, this is worse, because when we are talking about time of apartheid, there were Spoornet, there were ISCO, and then our fathers were working there to send us school to learn. And then they were working. And then when we go to Joburg, people were working right there and be able to feed their families in the rural areas. Today there is nothing. All those factories, all those firms have been destroyed by the so-called BBBEE, which doesn't bring any investment in our country.
Okay,
And people are just getting rich very quick, and then now it's just for them and their family.
All right, Madru, we're on to news time. I'm going to have to let you go. I hear what you're saying. I mean, we can debate it at length, but I mean, here's the question, not just to Madru, but to everybody. That, for me, you can never say times were better then when we had institutionalized apartheid that actually structurally prevented people from actually moving up a rung. That was the reality. On the other hand, we don't have that now, but can we also agree there are many basic service delivery rights, let's call it that the majority of South Africans are not receiving because of botched up poor leadership. So how do we square off one against the other? Just consider all of that, right? Let's get to the news. It's brought to you by Absa Ultimate Banking. Apply online to get 34 benefits subject to affordability and scoring. Benefits may be subject to limitations. Terms and conditions apply. Absa, as always, is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. Here's Greg Hose.
Thank you, Ashraf. Burnt bodies found in the Eastern Cape and renewed disagreement over Lungu repatriation. Good evening. Police have opened 2 murder cases following the discovery of 2 burnt bodies of young women at Kariga in the Eastern Cape. Police spokesperson Andre Bierge.
At approximately 08:35, police were notified about bodies found in bushes adjacent to 4th Avenue in Kailicha. Upon arrival, members discovered the severely burnt body remains of 2 identified females. Preliminary investigations indicate the victims are estimated to be between 17 and 19 years old. The identities of the deceased remain unknown at this stage. The motive for this callous act is also unknown and forms a critical part of the ongoing investigation being conducted by KwaNobuhle Police.
Public Protector's Office has urged Gauteng Standing Committee on Public Accounts to hold the provincial executive accountable for failing to implement unresolved remedial actions. These are from various investigations, including the failed R1 billion Alexander Renewal Project. A 2021 joint investigation with the Human Rights Commission found poor service delivery, maladministration and human rights violations were committed by the City of Johannesburg and the Gauteng government. The Public Protector's provincial representative, Vusumu Sidlamini.
We also did not get any confirmation or commitment from the Office of the Premier with regard to whether this request has been made to the President for a proclamation for SIU to undertake the investigation of the ARQ project. And then there was also the last recommendation which the Public Protector made in respect of the Alexander Renewal Project, which was directed to the head of the box.
The KwaZulu-Natal Department of Education has revised its mid-year June exam timetable. Schools were expected to resume June exams today. The department has issued a circular with new dates for tests, including for matric learners. The tests are due to be written from now until the 29th of July for learners in grade 10 to grade 12. Teacher unions embarked on protest action because no-fee schools were not getting their full government subsidies, leaving many unable to administer the exams. The KZN Premier intervened last week, making more funds available to the Education Department. KwaZulu-Natal SATU chairperson Pumlani Duma says they have suspended their pickets.
We therefore have agreed that given the commitment that the Premier has made that the money will be paid in 2 weeks, we can suspend the work to rule, giving an opportunity for them to process the payments, which they have promised that such money will be in the school's bank account on the 4th of July, and the other one would be coming on the 31st of July, which is the payment for the previous year, 2024. But for 2025, we are expecting the payment to be on the 4th of July. And this then indicates that the exams will continue as they've been planned, with an adjustment in terms of the timetable, because the timetable had been disturbed last week.
However, another union, NAT, has emphasised they will continue to picket until government has paid schools the outstanding amount. NATU's Secretary General Dr. Ngema.
we are continuing with the pickets that are taking place up until such time that the department expedite the processes of transfers to schools, because we want to ensure that the money is indeed reaching schools down there, because we know the issues about department, promising money to come to schools but it does not come, and they always cite the issue of glitches. So we want accountability when it comes to issues pertaining to ensuring that the money reaches the schools there, so that the schools will be able to, service their debts, and we want to ensure that they receive those money. So from where we sit as National Teachers Union, we want to remain on the picket line until such time that principals of schools are saying that they have received the money.
The feud between the late former Zambian President Edgar Lungu's family and the government of Lusaka's delayed the repatriation of his body from South Africa. Lungu passed away earlier this month while receiving medical treatment in South Africa. Ditabo Sosetsi reports.
The body of the late Edgar Lungu was supposed to leave South Africa today for burial in his home country. However, disagreement between his family and government has once again delayed the repatriation of the mortal remains of the Zambian former leader. It was expected that Lungu will be buried next week in Lusaka. A period of mourning has been extended.
The top story is that police have opened 2 murder cases following the discovery of 2 burnt bodies of young women at Kariga in the Eastern Cape. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Khos.
Right, so let's get to the top of the hour now, and this news brought to you by Absa Ultimate Banking. Apply online to get 34 benefits subject to affordability and scoring. Benefits may be subject to limitations. Terms and conditions apply. Absa is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
And in your sports this hour, in the Business of Sport feature today, we talk why Mamelodi Sundowns' business model is changing and why they need to keep spending. More details at 5:30.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
The reigning champions Banyana Banyana and 11 African national teams are ready to tackle each other for WAFCON 2024 to determine who are the real queens of the continent. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Experience the Women Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC 1 and SABC 2. Also available on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Ultimate Value is opening an account with 34 benefits while getting her a treat. Ultimate Success is getting her the ballet shoes that you promised. With a 2,000 Rand balance booster, Ultimate Goals is living life on your own terms with a credit card with 0 monthly fees. Absa Ultimate Banking is about having it all in one account for 98 Rand per month. Apply online now. Your story matters. Absa, subject to affordability and scoring. T's and C's apply. Absa is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider.
It's that time of year. The annual Drakensberg Boys Choir Music in the City is upon us. Classic choral works, African rhythms, and foot-stomping Afropop at the Joburg Theatre, 18 to 21 June. Book now on bbchoir.com. See you there.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the R21 southbound in Tembisa has roadworks reported with traffic restrictions towards the R25 Babsfontein Road exit, and the R21 southbound in Kempton Park, roadworks with traffic restrictions towards the R25 Babsfontein Road exit. In KZN, the N2 southbound queuing on the link to the N3 west at Spaghetti Junction, and in Cape Town, the N2 outbound slow moving towards Bunga Avenue and Voortrekker Road eastbound slow moving through Maitland. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So here's a question to you today. Did you go to OR Tambo International Airport to receive the World Test Championship winning Proteas cricket team? Did you go? Or would you be going tomorrow to Nelson Mandela Square, Sandton, to have this big celebration that will take place in that sort of courtyard, which should be fabulous? Would you be going? I certainly would love to know. That's the one thing. By the way, the other thing, and I'm looking at Noel Crowley's tweet from the other day saying, I think we can be best in champions if SFM Radio could have young people presenting the show in spaces. Just something to consider. Now, Noel, you know what? You may be aware, we've been promoting the fact that in being Youth Month, we are allowing young people to come and sit in and spend like a day with us in studio and inviting them to come on air, but also to choose which show they think they should be on. So part of that, I've got two people seated with me today, right? One is Azania Moche and the other is Lara Harris. Now, they're not talking today, but they will talk tomorrow and Friday. So we'll get them to find out exactly who they are, what they're about. I don't know. We'll see where that goes. But they're going to be heard at some stage on air tomorrow. They have a voice. Thought I'd just tell you that as well. Talking about voices, I tell you what, there's a chance for you to win some tickets as well to an important event, which I understand has been sold out for many of the other days. And I'm talking about the Drakensberg Music Choir, that is. So it's called the Drakensberg Music in the City, and it's taking place this Friday, the 20th of June, right? Now, you can win. What you have to be doing is answer this question. Where will the Drakensberg Music in the City concert be taking place? You got that? Where will the Drakensberg Music in the City concert be taking place? Now, if you don't know, and you're not listening to the radio, but you can listen because you'll get the answers soon. On air, that is. So you'll know that. Send your answer via WhatsApp to 0614 104 107, or you can call into 086 000 2032.
X at SFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
So, this has been I suppose, a significant week for many people. It's been 1 year this week since the formation of the GNU. Praised, criticized, lauded, insulted, we've had it all, and it continues. So yesterday we had this fascinating chat with Professor Stephen Friedman, and by the way, listen to that podcast. We've tweeted it out, we've Facebooked it, but also go to sfm.co. You will find it under the National Pulse as podcast. So listen to that, really interesting, his thoughts. He always felt it was never the GNU then, it still is not now, but that's his opinion. The broader question today is not so much what worked and what didn't work. From a purely GNU perspective, what has been the 5 big success stories of the GNU? There could be 5 failures, there could be 20 failures, I don't know. But the focus now is just what are the 5 things that has emerged from the GNU that has been very, very successful, great lessons to learn. So I don't have the answers. Who does is Professor Becky Mngomezulu, who's a political analyst at the Nelson Mandela University. Prof. Mngomezulu, much appreciate you connecting to us here on the National Pulse.
Thank you very much, sir, for having me, and good evening to your listeners.
Thank you. Now, you've got this big responsibility of trying to find 5 things for the GNU that absolutely work. So perhaps let's list it in order. Start with 1, and you can explain why. Then we'll move to the next one.
Maybe let's start with the first question. The first question is, does South Africa currently have a GNU or not? My answer is no. We don't have a GNU. We have a multi-party coalition which is led by the ANC, by virtue of having obtained 40.18% of the votes, which was the largest number compared to all others. Then it constituted government through a multi-party coalition. If we had a GNU, it would have been a different story, which I will not explain in the interest of time. Then, of course, the next question then will be, has the coalition government lived up to expectation? My answer is no. And the answer is premised on the fact that the very same coalition government was not established on a solid foundation. If we had doubts about that,
our doubts became a reality when John Steenhuisen told the world at the Oval Office in the US that for them to join the coalition government, it wasn't because they like President Ramaphosa, nor was it because they like the ANC, but their sole reason was to keep the MK party and the EFF away from the union building. So already we have a problem there. So then everything else that follows then should be understood in that context, including, of course, the fact that both the ANC and the DA seem to be singing in different tunes on almost everything, be it domestic policies or international or global policies. Then the question is, what then becomes of the other 8 members of the coalition? Those are the critical questions for me.
Okay, so lots to consider there. So, okay, and I hear all that you say, but for the purpose of this conversation, therefore, let's go back to the point. Yes, I hear you not calling it the GNU, as Prof. Friedman did the same thing as well anyway, right? But in terms of this grouping then of parties, if we then agree that, political parties will do what's expedient for them, and the ANC clearly had to find a way to hold on to power without having sort of radicalized forces on either side of them, so they could still manage the center. And, perhaps in many ways they've succeeded for that for now. But let's then go back to what is perceived maybe as not as your success stories, but certainly as considered as success stories of the last year. What do you think they would be?
We have an ideal situation, and then we have a real situation. An ideal situation is that all coalition governments have their own challenges, but they also have their own successes. And how you measure success is you look at what was there before, and then what has been happening since the coalition was constituted, was put together. In this case, let's identify just a few things. Look at the way the ANC was behaving up to the 6th administration. It would go to the January 8 statement, and from there it would go to the ANC Lekgotla, then it will go to the Cabinet Lekgotla, and then of course it will go to the State of the Nation address. And it was all ANC. So the good thing then that has happened after the 2024 general election is that you still have the January 8 statement, you still have the ANC Lekgotla, but when you go to the Cabinet Lekgotla, it's no longer just one political party, it's a combination of all these 10 political parties, which is a plus then, because it means that what you get from there, the end result is no longer representing one voice, that is the voice of the ANC, but the voices of all the 10 political parties.
Okay.
So that is a plus.
So that's one significant plus, that never mind how it's come about, they do have 10 voices as opposed to one voice, right? What's next?
Then, of course, the other thing is that if you are the minister from Party A and I'm the deputy from Party B, chances are you will no longer be doing things the way you've been doing in the past. So in other words, they checkmate one another. In other words, I watch you and watch me, and in the process then, chances are we'll do things differently. And then, of course, the other thing is that there are certain portfolios where you have new kids on the block that are trying to basically prove a point. And that has also assisted in the sense that they've been trying to perform more than what is expected of them, so that they prove the point that if they were to be given another chance, they will do better. We saw this happening at Home Affairs, for example. A couple of things are happening, and then early this morning I was talking to one of your colleagues who said that he got his passport within 3 days, which is something that is appreciated because it has never happened before. So we can count a couple of things that would say are good, but then of course the opposite is also true on many fronts, which we'll talk about if you do have time.
Okay, well, let's talk about this. Okay, so those were the significant success stories. Maybe here's the other one, right? The most repeated question we've had since day one of the GNU is, will the GNU hold? So do you get a sense that no matter how differing these parties are, and you made the point about 10 parties, particularly the two highest in seats in Parliament, I'm talking of the ANC and the DA, do you get a sense that whatever it is, they've signed up for the term of office it'll take, and therefore, from a pure stability point of view, that intended or otherwise, they've achieved that?
You know what, my brother, let me be blunt and honest about that. This coalition government will survive, but it will survive for wrong reasons. Remember that there are people who have become ministers for the very first time, something they've never tasted before. So then any other person would not want to relinquish these positions. You are either a minister, a full minister, or a deputy minister. You wouldn't want to relinquish that position. So therefore, whether you have issues or not, you will still want this coalition government to continue, which is the reason why, in fact, the DA has remained in this coalition after the budget battle, and then, of course, after the Bella Act, after the Land Expropriation Act. They are fighting the system from within, as it were, because what they've done is that they are litigating against the government, but they still want to remain in the government. So it will definitely survive, but for the wrong reason.
Okay. Just a quick answer as we wrap up, right? You made the point about political parties, smaller ones, understanding, and these are my words, that there's a shop window for them. If they can convince you and I as the electorate as to how they're doing a good job, they may well get your vote next time around. Who succeeded in that? A party or an individual? Those profile has been raised by virtue of being part of the GNU.
The DA will come up and say that we saved the country because we challenged the increase, the 2% VAT increase. But then the EFF will also claim that victory and say we were vocal from the opposition benches and therefore we should be credited for that. Other parties and other individuals will do the same thing. So basically people will be identifying certain things and say the reason why we are where we are is because we have taken government to task, even those who are within the government itself.
Okay, let's leave it at that. As we know, maybe in all cases in politics, everybody seems to be taking credit, no matter where it comes from. Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, the political analyst from the Nelson Mandela University, reflecting on 1 year of the GNU, or the multi-party democracy, multi-party coalition, in fact, as some are much happier describing it as, rather than the GNU. Where do you describe it? And what for you has been the single biggest victories that they've achieved in the last year? We talk cricket again on a big day for cricket right after this.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Mzansi, have you bought your Lotto Plus 1 and Lotto Plus 2 tickets for the mind-blowing 109 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Wednesday? Don't delay. Play Lotto for an estimated 78 million rand. Lotto Plus 1 for 18 million rand and Lotto Plus 2 for 13 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Handa, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. eTuba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
This Youth Month, SAFM celebrates the spirit, power and potential of young South Africans. Join us as we dive into conversations that matter, from innovation to education and skills for the changing world. Empowering youth for meaningful economic participation. Because at SAFM, we're not just talking, we're leading the conversations that move us. SAFM will be broadcasting live from the Sanlam Benchmarking Survey event at the Sandton Convention Center this Thursday, 19 June from 9 a.m. We'll be diving into all things retirement with Sanlam Corporate, unpacking their latest research on how South Africans are preparing or not for life after work. We'll chat to some thought leaders in the retirement space for their take on our collective readiness to retire confidently. Unfortunately, most South Africans may only retire with confidence at age 80. So how do we shift this reality? What can employers, policymakers, and individuals do to change the outlook? Join us for real insights into the future of retirement and employee benefits in South Africa. That's Thursday, 19 June from 9 a.m. only on SAFM. You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
So it's never happened before that I can, host a talk show as I'm doing right now and can say upfront to a nation of people listening in that today the South African cricket team landed in Johannesburg, and they carried with them the mace, the trophy, effectively, of being crowned as the world champions of Test cricket. It is unprecedented, and therefore we've paid a lot of attention to it today, and I think we'll do the same again tomorrow. We thought, let's get another perspective. We chatted to Kaya Sitoli, that super fan. We've had the former convener of selectors earlier on, and you can listen to those podcasts. And I'm talking about Linda Zondi, right? You can listen to those podcasts as well. They're all up there on social media and on our website, safm.co.za. You'll find it right away. Let me bring in cricket commentator Aslam Kota now with us. Aslam, good to connect with you as always on the National Pulse.
Much for having me, Ashraf.
Thank you. And I made a point by my social media post the other day that I bumped into you at a shopping mall, and for 20 minutes we did not speak about shopping and groceries and clothing. All we spoke about was South Africa's World Test Championship victory. It is that unprecedented, right? So a couple of days later, obviously someone like yourself who's followed the game, who's commentated on it, you're looking at just the singular importance of this win. What do you think it would be, besides the actual fact that we can say we World Test champions?
Well, I think the game certainly needed an injection of some sort, given all of the shenanigans that has bedeviled South African cricket since 2018, and then coming through some really tough periods. And this is exactly what the game needed, the country needed. And I think, in essence, that is to me the most important result of what we've seen out of this victory.
Would you say then, if I'm taking the lead from what you just said, that the South African team has succeeded because of the administration, or in spite of the lack of administration or poor administration? Your words, shenanigans.
Yeah, look, right now I'd like to think that it's a process that's in place and things are looking a whole lot better. I think from an administrative point of view, there's no doubt in that there's been lots of improvement that has been made. But I'd like to say at the same time that whilst there's all these all-round celebrations that are going on, is that cricket has actually looked after itself from grassroots level, club cricket level, and also the strong school system that we have had. But ultimately, the truth of the matter is that cricket and sport in general looks after itself. So apart from CSA itself, but I also think that from a government point of view, there's perhaps, for me, a question mark, because they failed to do much for grassroots sport. I think our schools and our facilities in the last 35 years haven't improved by 1%. So all of the, I think, accolades has to go to the cricketers who are at the coalface, the coaches, the players, and so on.
Well, one of the conversations that you and I had at the mall was the fact, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you made the point about very few cricketers, and one can say ditto for rugby as well. Players have been able to succeed without leaving their township schools and going to, a private school or a private college that gives them best-in-class treatment in whether it's rugby or cricket, for example. If they stay in their townships, they're just not going to get the attention they deserve, and they're going to slip and miss the system. So how true is that?
Oh, it's absolutely true. Ashraf, I'll give you one small statistic. If you have a youngster that's at a previously disadvantaged school, still in the previously disadvantaged areas, and if he's involved in cricket at all in any way at club level, or maybe even small kind of competitions, he'll probably play a maximum of 12 matches. Whereas if you're in a private school, you run out of counting the number of games the boys play. And I know for a fact that with one of our colleagues, Hussein Manak's son, being in having, I think, got the last 5 or 6 years of his cricketing schooling life, he was at a private school. They're playing up to 60 matches in a season. So that is a story on its own.
So what does that say about why cannot that be replicated in township schools? Keeping in mind that, say, cricket has a transformation agenda. They want to transform society, so they want to transform cricket facilities. How is it possible that 30 years into democracy, 30 plus, in fact, we're nowhere near that?
Yeah, well, it's pretty simple. Cricket has done its best. Sport has done its best to transform itself. We see it as an activity in motion. I know that from a government point of view, they certainly have one keen eye on how that is being addressed. But I mean, the real transformation, if you want sport to, any sport to flourish in any community, the government has to transform what was an apartheid relic and bring it up to standard and allow those children to express themselves, and hopefully through those systems come through and give themselves an opportunity to also play at international level. And I think that's not happened, and that's an area that needs to be watched, that needs to be addressed very, very urgently by the government, because for all intents and purposes, with all the other important things that the government keeps talking about where they need to plow their money and their efforts into, sport has to be right up there. And if you don't do that, then the transformation at CSA level or at rugby or even at soccer at soccer level for that matter, is not going to count for much, because the real transformation has to happen from the grassroots level, from the areas that these guys have all emerged from or that want to emerge from, and play at a higher level to give themselves that opportunity.
Point taken, lots to consider. Here's the last thing, just with a very quick answer as we're on to news time, right? Do you see this World Test Championship victory as the culmination of years of slogs, so it's an end in itself, or do you effectively see it as the beginning of something even greater?
Well, we've been waiting for this for a very long time, so I do see this as the beginning of a new era. I think this will bring lots of people back into Test match cricket. And just I'm walking on air since Saturday, Ashraf, since we met. And just to see the fervor at the airport and social media and the articles tells me that if we make use and if we really take advantage of this period and this achievement and nurture it very, very quickly, then I think we'll certainly continue to see an upswing. Having said all of that, sadly, the world champions will not be playing on South African soil for at least the next 14 months, if my calculations are right.
Yeah, point taken. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm trying to visualize you walking on air literally in a mall, because, winning a big cup does that to people. Aslam Kota, much appreciate your time. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Greg House.
In the headlines, out has called on the Transport Minister to temporarily suspend fines and temporary licences for motorists affected by the printing backlog of driving licence cards. Police have opened murder cases following the discovery of 2 burnt bodies of women at Kariga in the Eastern Cape. And Ukraine is holding a day of mourning after Russian attacks on the capital Kyiv killed 26 people. There's a full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 northbound in Germiston is closed between Grey Avenue and Rand Airport interchange due to a police incident. The N1 northbound in Hammanskraal has a crash before Murray Hill Road. The N3 southbound in Alexandra has a crash before London Road, and Beyers Nordia Drive northbound in Northcliffe, a crash at Milner Avenue. In KZN, the M4 queuing through Umhlanga, the N2 southbound in Amanzimtoti queuing on 20 Hill, the M7 St. John's Avenue queuing through Central Pinetown, and Victoria Embankment outbound queuing towards the M4 highway. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound slow moving towards the R300 interchange, the M3 southbound is queuing towards Rhodes Drive, the N1 outbound slow moving towards Okavongo Road exit, and the M7 Jakes Harville Drive southbound slow moving at Samora Machel. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
The Business of Sports with Tumi Nkgapele.
Well, I think a good example of talking about the business of sports and linking it up is, for many people, the quintessential business of sport team. It's called Mamelodi Sundowns.
Absolutely. And we're talking all things business of sport with the founder of Cash and Sport, Nqobile Ndlovu. Just yesterday, I was actually talking about the amount of money that Sundowns is going to make just for playing in the Club World Cup. And a lot of questions have been around how all this money that Sundowns is going to have or going to get and has, how they're going to use it all in all. And today we're basically just trying to figure out why Sundowns' business model is changing. And Nqobile, according to you, why do you think they need to keep spending?
Let's call it what it is. Mamelodi Sundowns are no longer just a South African football club. The Mamelodi Sundowns business model is evolving. Sundowns leaned heavily on their owner, Patrice Motsepe's deep mining pockets in the past, but things have changed and the structure and the commercial revenues have changed. Sponsorships were secondary in the past, match day income was modest, and the focus was on winning the PSL, not monetizing football at scale. They've even still got Ubuntu Wutu on the front of the shirt. The finances were simple, one man funded it all, and success was a passion project. But that era is changing. Their ambition and the financial planning now extend well beyond Kloorkop. Gone are the days of local dominance through local signings only. Today, they are raiding Europe, South America, and the rest of Africa for top-tier talent. In the last 24 to 48 months alone, they've spent over 200 million rand on transfer fees. Arthur Salles from Brazil, 63 million. Marcelo Allende, 51 million. Matthias Escoval, 44 million. Tashreeq Matthews, 28 million, returning from Sweden. There's others, Abubakar Nasser, Junior Mendieta, Tapelo Masoko, and so on, when they raided SuperSport United. So they're going for the top talents and they're going for the big fish. But it costs a lot of money to bring these players in. And here's one thing. Transfer fees, you can take your 5-year transfer, a 50 million transfer, and break that cost over 5 years. So you're only paying 10 million a year. But these guys demand big wages every week. You get players, earning up to R1 million a month. In the case of Marcelo Allende, players earning up to 300,000 rand a week. That's a lot of money. And those transfers and those wages hit the balance sheet on a weekly and monthly basis. To make that work, Sundowns are building a more sustainable commercial engine. Recent sponsorships deals have been signed with Carling Black Label for the Club World Cup that we spoke about. Puma have renewed their deal and they dropped a new line of merchandise a week ago. Red Bull, Huawei are the new mobile partner, and they've also got a new vehicle partner in Cherry to broaden the income base. But not only that, part of the bigger business deal is winning competitions and getting as far into competitions as possible. That's why Sundowns have to get into the finals of the MTN8 to win the DStv Premiership, and also the big prize, which is why they bring in the big coaches, is to win the CAF Champions League. The big money gets invested into the team gets bigger and stronger, and then again it fuels success, and the whole wheel keeps on moving. But you have to spend money to win, to make money. And naturally, this dominance has led people to asking questions about financial fair play. Will it be fair? Is it fair that Sundowns has all of this money, etc., etc., etc.? But my view is that, unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand what financial fair play is. FFP isn't about capping success. It's about ensuring that clubs spend within their means and don't spiral into debt. That's what financial fair play was designed to do. And what people don't understand is that with financial fair play, there are questions to be asked, because financial fair play requires disclosures in terms of how much are you paying players, what is the contract term, what are you paying for that, what are you receiving for that sponsorship, and so on and so on. Are we ready to have conversations around financial disclosures? Because that wouldn't only impact Sundowns, it would impact every other team in South African football. And we know, if you look at what happened with Royal AM and all of the other teams that have had transfer bans, there's a lot of mess underneath the curtains. So maybe the real question is, are other clubs able to adapt fast enough to compete with the new financial era of South African football? And to be honest, Sundowns is no longer just a South African football club. They are a global football club playing at the top table, and African football is the start, but for them, get to the Club World Cup and do it on a more consistent basis. And that's what, for them, success looks like. Do the others have a chance of catching up?
Well, that is so true. Mamelodi Sundowns is definitely a big brand worldwide, and you can see that they want to grow bigger and bigger. And for me, I've always been saying to myself, I'm looking forward to seeing who they're going to buy into the next season. But you can see they have a lot of money. Well,
they have huge ambition, and here's the point, which is going to break, I've said so before, it'll break the hearts of Chiefs and Orlando Pirates in particular, right? So a year ago I was in Cairo in Egypt, and you obviously take a taxi from places, and I jumped into like 4 taxis, and each time, depends on the mood. Often, you say from South Africa, they would say, Nelson Mandela. During 2010, you'd go to Malaysia, they'll say, Waka Waka, that type of thing. This time round, 4 taxi drivers. Where you from? South Africa. Mamelodi Sundowns.
Yep.
They don't know Chiefs. They don't even worry about Pirates. Mamelodi Sundowns. And then to confirm the point, he said, and your boss, as in Sundowns boss, he's the CAF boss. So they know it all. So the Sundowns brand is huge on the continent. I'm not suggesting it's the biggest in the world, not yet, nowhere near. There would not have been 3,000 people at the game yesterday if it was that big. So let's be realistic about it. But they certainly have plans to grow it globally, which is great.
But it's well known also. It's well known. That is the business of sport. His name is Nqobile Ndlovu. You can follow him on his socials, Cash and Sport. With that said,
Upgrade your TV game with the SABC TV License Rewards. It's your golden ticket to VIP treatment. Imagine signing up at sabctvlicenserewards.co.za, racing through a few steps, and bam! Instant reward. Just for being you. Plus, pocket up to 500 Rand back. That's the cherry on top. But wait, it's not just about the cash. We're talking about sweet deals and epic rewards. Think discounts on all your favorite things, from shopping to travel and entertainment. Your payment unlocks a world of fun. So, why wait? Dive into the excitement. Join the SABC's TV License Rewards at sabctvlicenserewards.co.za. Hit those buttons and watch your TV experience level up. T's and C's apply. Remember, TV license fees aren't just payments, they make a difference.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
As a business owner, I've noticed how being energy efficient has improved my savings and the growth of my business. You too can improve your margins by adopting energy efficient behaviors. Simply switch to energy saving lighting, switch off non-essential equipment, and maintain HVAC systems. These are some of the ways you can use electricity wisely to see your business soar, as well as contribute to a greener planet. Just like every rand counts, every kilowatt counts. Let's use electricity wisely. Eskom.
It's a tough day for Mark. Tight deadlines and challenges everywhere. But Mark can rest easy, because when he bought his Hino 700 2845 truck tractor, he received a complimentary service plan covering up to 210,000 kilometers for short haul and up to 280,000 kilometers for long haul. Nice one, Mark. Visit your dealer today to find out more about this limited time offer. Hino, all the way. T's and C's apply.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Well, Jimmy Moya, who of course hosts the SAFM Market Update, and Jimmy, picking up on what we said about money in sport with Mamelodi Sundowns, you got two things: asset forfeiture unit you want to touch on, as well as Formula One. My goodness.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. Yes, the asset forfeiture unit conversation is a conversation you had a little earlier on with one of our listeners who asked about where the funds go. And I happen to be listening to that conversation and I happen to know the answer to that. There is a criminal assets recovery account where the monies and the assets are transferred into. In most cases, the assets are typically then realized into cash by being auctioned or sold off or those sorts of things, and the proceeds go into that same recovery account. And the recovery account is then used for the various criminal justice projects and initiatives that are out there in the country, and a portion of the funds could potentially be returned to the victims of the crimes in some exceptional cases. So that's to answer the listener's question around where the asset forfeiture unit's funds go, or the assets that are seized there. I too had the same question once upon a time, so that's why I went and found the answer. But what we have got on the show is, as you mentioned, the Formula One conversation. This is something that I know will excite many of our listeners. It excites me, and I know it certainly excites someone like Dumi, who keeps her eye on sport as well. We are one step closer to potentially having Formula One return to South Africa, and that step is by the way of the FIA granting the granting Kyalami the approval to make the adjustments needed to the circuit so that the circuit can be graded a grade 1 circuit. Obviously, that is the minimum requirement for the Grand Prix circuits to be eligible for Formula One races and hosting. I happened to catch up with the CEO of Porsche South Africa, Toby Venter, around that conversation. This is an exciting time, certainly for all sports fanatics around the world, but more especially for those in South Africa that have been dying for a Formula One race. So we're going to look at that. We're going to dig into that story in a bit more detail. Alongside that, we're going to be looking at the global expectations in markets with the team at Allan Gray. We're going to be looking at how these expectations filter into pricing and valuations and all sorts of other things in between. Then we've got a conversation with the team at Scatec around the green hydrogen economy that exists in South Africa. The PIC announcing last week or so that they would be investing in the green hydrogen economy, and we know the energy transition goals of South Africa and the African continent have become clearer and clearer, so we're going to be looking at that as part of the Africa Energy Forum that began yesterday. We're going to dig into that and see where we go from here and what goals are being laid out there. And then we've got a conversation with an executive as part of our executive lounge. We've got the founder and chairman of Brand Africa, Tebe Kalafeng, coming into studio to discuss exactly what it is that led him to building Brand Africa, but also his passion for building brands and his passion for the South African story. So that's what's coming up on the show today. Quite an interesting show. But before we get to that, let me give you a sense of how the markets have been moving throughout the day. Markets had a reasonable day depending on where you are looking. Markets are still quite nervous around all the Middle East tensions. The Rand still at some point was at 18.05 earlier today. We're back at 17.93 against the US dollar, so quite a good recovery there from the Rand's perspective. 20 Rand 67 will buy you €1. 24 Rand 16 is £1 British, and $1 Australian dollar will cost you 11 Rand and 70 cents. The all-share markets, or the local markets rather, the equity markets, closing out the day in the green. It seems as though some calm might be returning to the markets, but when we look at the equity markets, still a bit of a mixed bag internationally. The Hang Seng down about 1.1%, the DAX and the CAC 40 down in European sessions, the Nasdaq up about 0.5%. Our own local markets, the top 40 0.37% in the green, resources 0.5% up, industrials 0.5% up, financials basically flat, about 6 basis points to the green, but the all share, more importantly, 0.33% to the green. The gold price giving off a bit of ground, $3,387 a fine ounce. Brent crude $75.20 a barrel. Not the best number there. The platinum price $1,305 a fine ounce. Very good for our platinum miners locally. Palladium $1,058 and Bitcoin $104,000 a Bitcoin, or around 1.88 million rand. So we're going to come back a little later on, just after the 6 p.m. news, with more updates on what's been happening throughout the day. But for now, Ashraf, back to you.
Okay, and if we need to know more about where money goes, we speak to the clever guy here on SAFM Market Update. Jimmy, you've made your pitch. Much appreciated indeed.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
So here's a question. If you're thinking about your future, don't miss the 2025 Sanlam Benchmark. It's live on SAFM, Thursday, tomorrow, right? From 9 a.m. A panel of leading experts will unpack what's really happening, what's happening regarding South Africans back from retiring well, and what's holding them, in fact, from retiring well. What can we do about it? What can you do about it? Okay, so that's Thursday, tomorrow, 19th of June, starting from 9 a.m. right here on SAFM.
It was fast, easy, and he gave me the best quote. My savings is 644 Rand. Come join our insurance and save some money.
Nice one, Lebo. Saving 644 Rand a month on your 2019 Mazda CX-3 would also make you so happy you might drop a beat. Outsurance clients know what it feels like to be on the winning side. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Switch and save today. Outsurance is always looking for ways to save you money. They are also committed to settling valid claims fairly and quickly. No hassles.
You know your claim is going to be taken care of and you've got support along the journey.
SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
The Rockets want to take full control of 90 minutes. Meanwhile, First Touch ladies want to transition quick with First Touch football. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Do not miss out on glittering action between TS Galaxy Queens and First Touch ladies on Saturday 21 June at 3 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Honey, what are you doing?
I'm stretching for tonight.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matric mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No, man, just sell your bucky to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
Mzansi, have you bought your Lotto Plus 1 and Lotto Plus 2 tickets for the mind-blowing 109 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Wednesday? Don't delay. Play Lotto for an estimated 78 million rand, Lotto Plus 1 for 18 million rand, and Lotto Plus 2 for 13 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. eTuba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
For over 40 years, we've stood with the artists, championing the arts in all their forms. Now we unveil the next chapter, the Standard Bank Art Lab, a new gallery space where bold ideas take center stage. Opening with a celebration of tapestry, because like these woven masterpieces, the arts are woven into who we are. Step inside, let the art move you, grow you. Standard Bank, proud Lead B20 sponsor, authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
So here's an issue that we touched on before, and it's certainly a big issue. The Minister of Higher Education and Training, Dr. Nobuhle Mkhwebane, finally submitted the list of SETA board selection panel, right? So we're going to talk about that because the DA has a position of this. They, in fact, want to refer this entire issue. And regarding the minister herself, the minister, that's it, Dr. Nobuhle Mkhwebane, to the Ethics Committee for misleading the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee. So let's get to that in a moment. First, let me bring in Karabo Gaugao, the DA member of Committee on Higher Education and Training. Karabo, it's always good to connect with you on the National Pulse.
Thank you so much, Ashraf. Good evening to yourself and good evening to your SAFM listeners.
Thank you. And before we talk to you, let's play some sound of what the spokesperson for the minister, and that's Kamangwini Mavovana, had to say about it.
The Minister of Higher Education and Training, Dr. Nobuhle Mkhwebane, has disclosed members of the panel for the selection and recommendation of SETA board chairs to the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training, a process that has since been recalibrated. The Minister stands ready to account to the Portfolio Committee and to respond to further requests for information in this regard.
Okay, let me then so let me then bring in the DA member of Committee on Higher Education and Training. So I understand from your party position, you intend or have taken steps, in fact, to take the Dr. Nobuhle Mkhwebane to the Ethics Committee for misleading the parliamentary portfolio, effectively lying. Give us some context to that.
So we submitted the affidavit today on behalf of the Democratic Alliance. The affidavit was sent to Parliament's Ethics Committee registrar so that the Ethics Committee can process that and have a hearing, which will then conclude on her breach of the Code of Conduct for members of Parliament, but for herself as a cabinet member, as the minister. The reason why we did this, Ashraf, is because the minister assured Parliament, and she insisted on the meeting that we had on the 30th of May, that the people that she appointed on her selection and evaluation panel were independent people, that we could trust that they were beyond reproach, and that they had absolutely no ties to herself or the sector in a way that is politically compromising. And the reasons why we had even raised a question at the time, Ashraf, was because we couldn't understand, as the Democratic Alliance and as a committee, why is it that out of 573 out of 573 applications, that the 20 people that were finally appointed and selected were aligned to the ANC. You would know that the full list has to do with Loyiso Masuku, who's a current Johannesburg MMC of Corporate Services in the city of Johannesburg, as the ANC Secretary General in that region. You have a former Premier of KZN, former MEC, KZN, ANC, MECs, a former Deputy Minister on Communications, directors, HODs in municipalities and municipalities under the ANC. The list goes on, as well as Gwede Mantashe's son, as well as Gwede Mantashe's advisor.
Something we certainly touched on before. So is your issue that too many of these recommendations on the board were close to, let's say, I was going to say the ruling party. I need to erase that now, to the ANC, right? Or is it that in fact the minister lied when asked questions about proximity?
So the first point is the alignment and her lying. But on the point of the panel itself, the reason why we laid the charge to ethics is because we're convinced she lied. Why? Because the panel members that she revealed are one, Advocate Terry Mutau, who was supposedly the chairperson of this panel, and according to the minister, he never attended all those meetings, which then begs the question, who actually chaired this meeting? You would know that Advocate Terry Mutau currently has an active 2 million rand tender with the city of Johannesburg, directly out of Loyiso Masuku's department, the MMC for Corporate Services. The same Loyiso Masuku who this panel supposedly appointed to become the chairperson of the CETA board for Foodbev. That is number one. Number two, you have Asisipo Solani, who's a former SASCO member, a former ANC Youth League member, and is currently an advisor to the Minister of Higher Education. So there's no independence there either. Number three, Nelisi Wesimane, who's the Chief of Staff of the Minister, also served in that panel. You also have Mabuza Ngubane, a Chief Director for CETA Coordination. The same Ngubane, in the meeting on the 30th of May, when I asked him, he lied directly to my face to tell me that he had absolutely nothing to do with the selection and evaluation of these people, that he knew nothing. So, again, that's another problem. And the fifth name is Rulani Ngwenya, who's currently the Deputy Director General for Corporate Services in the Department of Higher Education and a former DDG for Corporate Management in the Department of Tourism. So these people... clearly, there's no way you can say these people are independent, yet the writing is on the wall that they're not. But there's also one more person who served on this panel that the minister, whose identity the minister is concealing. We want to know also who's this Casper the Ghost, because again, we maintain it's not up to her and that person to decide whether they are comfortable with being known. It is a matter of public record, particularly because the decisions that they took has to do with how 19 billion rands of the state coffers are used.
All right. The friendly Casper can be a friendly ghost as well, just saying that you know that, right? Here's the thing. In terms of then... in terms of referring the matter to the ethics committee, so is your intention to refer it, or you've actually set in motion the process?
I said earlier that I submitted the affidavit today and I submitted it to the registrar of the committee. So that process is well underway, yes.
What happens next?
That we called for in committee, Ashraf, just quickly. The other thing that we called for in committee today is that all of those people who served in the panel must appear before the committee to give us a full detail of the process that they followed, including the minutes of each and every meeting that they held, if they held those meetings. We also want to have the full report that was sent to the National Skills Authority that was sent by the minister and the panel recommending the appointments of these people. And moreover, the chairperson of the committee has been mandated by the committee to go lay criminal charges against everybody who lied before the committee, because it is a criminal offence to lie to Parliament.
Well, let's rest assured that story will run, Casper or not, whichever. Karabo Khao, thanks for your time. Much appreciated, as always, talking to us here on the National Pulse. There's a couple of comments I want to pick up from you, because lots of people have views. Here's one.
Hi, Ashraf. Yeah, the gentleman that's talking about the life was better before the democracy. I mean, before democracy, how many people lived in Joburg? The infrastructure was good for the people, for the amount of people that are staying in the towns. The schools, there were not as many schools as now. There were no foreign nationals influx. There was the Group Areas Act. You were not allowed to come to Joburg without a permit that you are coming to work. So yes, it would have worked because it was trimmed to work. Thank you.
Okay, so there's a couple more, but some of the sounds just far too long. As I've told you guys, don't put something beyond 30 seconds, otherwise it's just very, very difficult to be able to play them, right? So let's wrap up by saying this. You probably heard me talking about it earlier. We've had the SFM drive in this Youth Month to get young people to come in to share the airspace with us, right? So we've had two people with us for the last 3 hours, Azania Mochi and Lara Harris. They're going to come back tomorrow as well, but I thought I'll do a quick 30-second interview with both of them to say what were their experiences just observing. Azania, you first up.
Oh, hello, good afternoon. It's been a beautiful...
Okay, let's just sort that out. Let's get Phineas to hold it. My apology. Right, let's get that right. Okay, are we okay now? Phineas? All right, go for it. Yeah. So, what is your experience? Just 30 seconds?
It's been a beautiful experience. It's an absolute honor to watch you guys here, and I can see how passionate you are about your work and how you familiarize yourself with what's been going on in South Africa. So it's beautiful, and I can't wait to be here on Friday.
Okay, you're invited. Thank you. What about Lara Harris, your 30 seconds?
Thank you, Ashraf. I can just echo what has just been said. But to end on the notes of education, I think that's something you and I will also discuss tomorrow. Very excited to have this platform and the nation weighing in, as you said, from so many different perspectives we saw this afternoon. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well, welcome to the National Pulse. And tomorrow, the National Pulse is yours. Okay, you guys can drive it tomorrow and Friday over the next 2 days. Really looking forward to that conversation and getting your voices on air and getting other people to understand your insights compared to just mine. So we'll do that tomorrow. That's the show then, of course. Thanks for listening in. Great to connect with you as always here on the National Pulse. You can hashtag the National Pulse throughout the day, 24/7, just on social media. We'll certainly pick it up when you take SFM Radio and myself. Do listen to all the podcasts as well and share that with your chommies too, all throughout the day and tomorrow too. Let's get the news. Here's Greg House.
Thank you again, Ashraf. A call to suspend fines over driver's licence cards and burnt bodies found in the Eastern Cape. Good evening. The organisation Undoing Tax Abuse, or OUTers, called on the